Look at it. Do you see? This is what you've been fighting for. This is what the suffering was all about. I've been waiting so long to finally come back here. Reborn City lives up to its name and glory that Adrian spoke of. It's more than amazing. It's a miracle. When I got to this point the first time in my second playthrough, I had no idea that the news was prefacing this moment. So when I just chose to land in Opal Ward, and this color filled my vision, and this dreamlike arrangement of the Reborn motif graced my ears, I couldn't believe it. Not only despair drives you, hope will as well, and maybe even more strongly. This moment would drive me to complete the game, no matter how many more years I had to wait. I wouldn't miss it for the world. So now, it's time to explore, and boy do we have an episode today. No, really, look at that video length. What the fuck? 3 hours? Yeah, I've been half excited for this episode, because I'd get to play it, and half dreading it, because I'd have to produce this video. But that's what I'm here for. Let's get right into it. Every ward in Reborn City has been revitalized, and therefore, every ward has something to do and see. Not just the city either, way beyond too. We'll get there. Let's start quickly with Opal Ward and the Grand Hall. Behind this park bench is a Dawnstone, and up the stairs on the left is another mini park with a mental herb. Many of the NPCs around here are the same ones from the beginning of the game, who show growth themselves. Though, you'll find, not everyone is happy about the change in the direction of the city. You'll want to talk to everyone in the Grand Hall to hear all the new information, except Ame. Don't talk to her yet. If I don't ever talk to her, then... News time! Gardevoir advertises the Reborn restoration projects being run by the Grand Hall, and tells everyone to get involved. We will, but not this episode. I'm not lazy. Those side quests just don't start until after the barrel wall gets fixed. Gardevoir then interviews, more like talks about Amaria, as the water leader we saved last time is being retested for her league position, in case her amnesia has diminished her ability too much. In the time that Gardevoir was speaking, Amaria defeats the league representative. Not too long before we have to deal with that ourselves. As for who we'll have to deal with this time, DJ Arclight does his job and tells us it will be Adrian. The returning fairy leader who drove this miraculous restoration of the city was a pretty good bet for being this episode's gym leader. Well, they used doubles. Everything's ruined! At least Arclight tells us who Adrian's ace is this time. Florges. Another special defense wall of a Pokemon. Alright, that's all that Opal Ward has, small as it is. Let's start by going east to Obsidia. Yeah, it wasn't just Opal Ward's theme. Every theme in the city has had its instrumentation modified by Ame, leading to nearly all of the tracks sounding more hopeful and vibrant. Reborn City is really as close to a vanilla Pokemon City as it could be now. In case it hasn't fully sunk in yet, the restoration has resulted in the city being repaired wherever it was damaged. The streets between wards are all fixed, as you can see traveling to the North Obsidia ward from the south. But let's stay on the main thoroughfare first, and go into the Pokeball shop again. A new salesman stands behind the original clerk, and sells an updated selection of special Pokeballs. Repeat, Luxury, Dusk, and Quick Balls stand out among his inventory. But also in this shop is this techie, who we end up showing our corrupted Pokeball. He's pretty insistent that the ball itself is useless, and the chances that a Pokemon that was in the ball still stayed as its original species is unlikely. It would probably end up being missing though. We don't need any more of that, but I'm not about to let him just turn me away. He runs a diagnostic, telling me that the corruption is near total, but says we can use an item to fix it. Magnet powder. Yep, here's where that strange item finally gets used. He tells me that it's probably pointless. The corruption is at 98%. and that we'd probably have to battle Missing No. Hey, as long as it's not on glitch, that's fine. He says either the ball will work very temporarily, or wipe its contents. He puts in the magnet powder, and... according to him, there was less than a 1% chance that this Ralts would survive. Never tell me the odds. With no way to return the Pokemon, we got ourselves a Ralts. Oh, excuse me, I misspoke. We got a shiny Ralts! And boy, what a strange Ralts it is. A 100% glass cannon. I could easily breed it to try for better stats, though I'd be fine using this one. But speaking of breeding, head up the street to the daycare and find a worker next to the daycare lady. He says he's campaigning to raise funds for the couple to install a brand new incubator, a device that will allow you to hatch eggs instantly. What's the total funds required? $100,000. Okay, so yeah, I could afford that. But you know those other restoration projects that I said I couldn't start yet? Yeah, those price tags are going to be very similar. For the moment, until I desperately need to get some better IVs, I'm leaving this one for later. One of those restoration projects will be pretty apparent if you were to head down the stairs to the rail net to the left. You can see that not everywhere in Reborn City is fixed now. And not just the rail net. The Obsidia slums are also in terrible shape. This actually acts as your last chance to obtain items and side quests that were in these maps. Again, we'll be revisiting these places in a few episodes. Head up the street now, walking on brand new road, and find that the old Urayu building has been completely renovated, now becoming the HQ for Sweet Co., the candy store down the street. Going inside, what you'll find is that the leftmost clerk gives you an application to work here. I'm kind of busy becoming the champion, but these applications basically act as a side quest puzzle piece coming up. Going into another nearby corporate building, the Sylph one, we find a lady talking with a civilian about some issue that's arisen. She says that she'll be glad to help us with anything but Kecleon. Yeah, that is a bit strange. She says that Beryl Ward is having a rash of Kecleon sightings, or lack thereof, since they're all invisible and making things very difficult for the residents. They came to Sylph looking for help because the company that could help them, Devon with their scopes, aren't selling any. When we tell her we're interested about this situation, she asks if we will snoop around the Devon building to see if they have any Devon scopes we can steal, borrow, and help remedy Beryl's problem. Yeah, I'll go to Devon. If you were to head over there now and talk to this guy, he'll say they're plumb out of them, he thinks. Next to the Sylphco building, you'll find a new shop has opened. Madame Meganium's Magic Medicine Market. Yes, it is run by a Meganium. Before you question it, revival herbs. In case you don't mind your Pokemon hating you more for letting them faint and then giving them bitter medicine, you can just buy max revives. As well, she sells power herbs and white herbs. Big selection. By the way, you should buy one of those white herbs for pretty soon. Also, make sure you take an application from here too. Now, speaking of big selection, my beloved department store. I've returned with 2 brand new stickers. Floor 9, Evolution Stones and Special 2. Yep, you know that Dawnstone I pointed out at the beginning of the video? That's the last one you'll hear from me. This floor has all the Evolution Stones for sale. What about Link Stones and Ice Stones? Just saunter over to the other counter and you'll find them both here, along with PP Ups. Besides that, there's a bunch of other evolution items and the TM for Solar Beam. Floor 10, top tier general needs and rare berries. Ultra Balls and Potions, Max Repels, Full Restores, and Revives on the left. Pinch Berries, Lum Berries, Reflection Berries, and Custap Berries on the right. Quite nice, though we still have a few floors left to go. That's pretty much all there is to see new in the south side of Obsidia, but you should be scrubbing the ground with your item finder like usual. If you do, then you'll stumble upon this item called Growth Mulch. As you can guess, we'll be using this item for a side quest in a little while. Now head to the North Obsidia ward and head first into the Spice, where you can pick up another job application. But speaking of job, the head chef will have a job for you right now. Their delivery boy is doing the sickness today, so he asks us to do the grocering for him. If we do, we will get a sharing of the food. What items? I'll get them immediately. Honey, tiny mushroom, balm mushroom, slowpoke tail, white herb, stick, sweetheart, moo milk, energy root, custap berry, whipped dream, shoal salt. The names of several of those should be familiar, particularly from the last few minutes, but some of them are pretty concerning. However, all of them are obtainable in this episode. Get the custap berry from the department store. Get the white herb and energy root from Madame Meganium. Get the whipped dream from the candy store. Buy or trade for a honey if you don't have any more. The tiny mushroom, moo milk, stick, and shoal salt should all be in your bag already if you followed this series. What this leaves is the balm mushroom, the sweetheart, and the slowpoke tail. We'll be back later to reap the rewards. Now let's go drop in on our buds, the magma gone. Oh man, the hideout. Well, that's the price of progress, isn't it? Just take the max elixir here and let's try not to cry. Head down the way to another haunt, that is, Arclight's haunt. This time, he's out here, and he's happy to see you. It turns out it's time to tie up the loose ends from 7th Street. The Pokemon we bought from the shady dealer had original trainers, and he's found out that there are 5 of them that we can still return the Pokemon to. He says that if we do this for him, he'll have something real nice for us. Last time was a lucky egg, so what could it be this time? The 5 Pokemon you need to return are the Loudred to Lilin in Jasper Ward, Makuhita to Felicia at Apophil, Roggenrola to Mr. McCrezy, Jigglypuff to Santiago, and Vanillite to Eustace. No problem, right? With this, there's nothing else new to do in Obsidia. But you might wonder about something old to do. The Grand Stairs have been repaired, so does that mean that the Crystal Cavern is impossible to return to? Never fear. This guard will let you into a small building that gives you access to the cavern, in case you still need Pokemon or some mining rocks. The same, though, cannot be said for the pathway to the Cité Astra. Now you know why I told you to catch everything in there beforehand. Alright, let's continue on to Onyx Ward. You'll find that there's almost nothing new here, especially outside the trainer's school. The NPCs are kind to you now, for the most part, saying it's great that we swept out Fern. Yeah, it is great. Fuck you, Fern. There's almost nothing new in the school either, besides some updated dialogue. However, the girl standing sentry at the door to the gym arena asks you something. She wants you to deliver a note and gift to someone on the 3rd floor. That gift is a sweetheart. You have 2 of those by chance? Well, don't worry about that. The girl on the top floor who is the recipient of this affection, sadly, does not feel the same. She says that we should keep that chocolate instead. If you return to the girl downstairs, she's broken up about it. She then gives up Insinium Z. That's just about the most uncomfortable Z-stone we should get. Just like that, Onyx Ward is done. Let's now hit the southernmost ward, Coral Ward. The streets of Coral Ward are no longer deserted by any means. Hustle and bustle has returned to the Misty Enclave. Best of all, at its center, is a revitalized gym. Obviously, that will be the very last place we will visit in this episode. Starting from the top left of the ward, and without going into the water yet, there's the warehouse where Amaria used to store her boat. Now, there is no more boat to use. Of course, you can use surf, or better, fly, to get to Apophil in Azurine. But in this room now is a girl with a spoink that's missing its pearl. What's with Coral Ward and spoinks? Exit the warehouse and go past the locked door to enter this apartment building. Guess who's still here? Danielle. Guess who's still sassing you relentlessly? Same girl. She's ready with a new, broadened series of quiz questions and insults, and you'll need to visit places far and wide for the answers. Question 1. How many individual train cars are in Bixbysian Wasteland? 15. which has the added effect of showing that there's nothing new in the wasteland to see. Almost. Question 2. The number of buildings in Ametrine. 30. Number 3. How many Pikachu live with Mew? Fun fact, I guessed on my first try 24, going up from 23. Hold that in your mind for a moment. So of course I rode all the way out to Mew's house, and on my way, checked on the berry trees that I planted back in episode 9. So here's a question for you, audience. How many berries can be picked from these trees now? No, of course not. The answer is 26. 26 citrus and lepa berries. What's in this soil? So anyway, there were 23 Pikachu in the house. Yeah, I rolled up one digit from the right answer on the first try. 4. Satellite dishes in Spinal Town. There aren't any. Yep, that's a legal answer. 5th question. How many bookshelves are there in Apothel Academy? Well, I'll just throw out some number like 42, just let me go look, that's the right answer. Holy fuck, I could not believe that happened. Saving me another entire trip and re-entering all of the right answers. But this leads Danielle into her ace question. How many trees are in Chrysolia Forest? Really? No, not really. In the end, the last real question I got on a guess, and Danielle admits she had fun and thanks us with this readout. Thanks, Danielle, for reminding me of another slice of suffering. There's one last person to speak to, one that appears since we are shopping for groceries for the spice. It's this fisherman, and he's offering Slowpoke Tail for $500,000! If I say yes, even though I don't have that much, do you think he'll cut me a break? Turns out, if you say yes, no matter what money you have, he'll learn you're delivering for the spice, and instead hands one over for free. Whew, my wad of cash stays intact for another episode. With this, we're finished already with Coral Ward. We have a huge section of Western Reborn to look at, but before we do, let's clean up one last smaller ward, Lapis. Lapis seems to be the least noticeably updated ward in the city, relatively, but they have definitely spruced up a few areas. One of those being the former Aqua Gang hideout. Now it possesses a small berry park with some of the berries we saw up in the department store. Speaking of berries, the flower shop will have some other special berries too, as well as selling the battle seeds. But now we come to the hard reality that just because the city looks better doesn't mean all of its people are better. We enter this house to hear from this lady that her son has been kidnapped. She says she had first assumed that he was with her brother, a musician named Master McCrezzy. Hey, that name sounds familiar. Now she's begging us to help track down the bald men who took the child named Eustace. This quest from Arclight is a lot more tangled than he made it seem, huh? Before we finish up with Lapis, at least the above ground part, head up to this picnic table with a former Aqua Grunt and pick up stable mulch for later. Our friends in Magma may not have their base anymore, but we still have a world to ourselves. 7th Street. You'll enter the elevator, and Chris already shows that something's off. He says it too. You'll step into 7th Street, and as this dude nearby says, literally nothing here has changed. Apparently the police haven't found out about this place yet, he thinks. But you'll find a guy standing here. He's actually one of the cops you saved in Rotocrene Jungle, who says they are very aware of this place, but are leaving it alone for now. You'll doubtless talk to every character again, and this will cause you to bump into this guy, who says that Arclight has been looking for someone to help him on a job, and might be offering a high-end trainer ring as a reward? It should be pretty obvious, but do Arclight's quest. And another thing, do it before advancing the story, which you do by talking to a particular character in the Grand Hall. You'll sniff around 7th some more, and quickly discover that the Pokemon dealer Arclight was supposed to bust up from before is still kicking, and kicking it with some tutor moves. One of them being knockoff. Now we can be just as cheap as anyone else. Now we come to the last person to speak to in 7th, our main man Maxwell. But he's got a new idea. In the spirit of restoration that Reborn is embracing, he's dissolving the Magma Gang. Yeah, I know, heartbreaking. But he's seeing the way forward, and it isn't in crime anymore. However, the other members of Magma Gang don't see it that way, and Maxwell wants our help to get them onto a new path. He asks if we will talk to them with ideas for a job of some kind that would get them away from 7th Street into the lights. He says to do it even if we have to shove job applications into their faces. So do just that. Collect job applications from around Reborn City and beyond, and bring them to your Magma buddies. How do you know which jobs will suit which Magma man? Talk to them, like Break here. Now that you've talked to Maxwell, all of them will confide in you that Maxwell has lost it, and makes it clear they want no part of any job. However, they'll give clues about what they like, and finding an application that fits them solves their puzzle. Break says he only wants to synthesize the drug associated with the colored shards, but says he's familiar with other chemicals and herbs. Chemicals and herbs, eh? You know, there's this meganium running this store. Say no more. Break is in. Back in the elevator, Chris says that getting a job isn't why he joined Magma. If someone wants to pay him to eat food, then he'll do that. Well, what about getting paid to cook food? Chris can cook food. Another Magma turned. Niall is just straight out on this one. No place in Reborn is cool enough for him. Well, one place could be cool. I'm not allowed in yet in this timeline, but the nightclub seems cool. One problem. There weren't any applications around, but the girl outside, who was salivating to get a job there just to be near DJ Arclight, apparently made off with a bunch of applications and gives you one. Show that to Niall. You're welcome. Last is Darm. Darm is pissed. Get a job? Doing what? No one wants to hire him because he's too powerful. Not even construction crews want him. Darm's is the hardest one to solve, because you'd have to know that a place outside of Reborn City is hiring. No sooner had we escaped that place, we must fly back to Agate Circus. Go to the counter near where Indra is and see a stack of applications. The qualification? Beat Samson in an arm wrestling match. What does Darm say to that? He says, bring it the fuck on. With that, Magma Gang is on the path of the straight and narrow. All except one. When you talk to Maxwell, it turns out, he needs your help too. But the job he wants is one where he can make people smile. For glory. Try as you might, the job he'll like is not one you can offer him just yet. You'll need to return at a later date. There's one more thing to do in 7th Street. It's in the watering hole. See, before, a locked gate stopped you from going down this ladder. If you did, then you find yourself back in the... So this is where Ace came from. Anyway, reach the bottom of the ladder to find a black flute, which is the one that keeps wild Pokemon away. Cool. The eastern side of Reborn City is taken care of. Now it's time to go to the west side. Peridot Ward's up first. The clean and streamlined ward has the biggest addition of pep in its music now, in my opinion. A constantly forward-moving beat, to pair with the improvements going ever onward. There definitely is some room for improvement still in Peridot. The first thing you'll see in that regard is the train station. Even after all this time, the attack from the very beginning of the game has still put it out of commission, rendering our pursuit of Titania to the desert impossible for the moment. Just south of Julia's gym, you can find a third mulch, damp at that. In a crate next to her satellite dishes, you'll find an eject button. Going northwest a bit will lead you to a much bigger park square, where you'll meet with the man whose own garden was the seed for much more, Seacrest. He has been tending all the gardens and parks around the city, but says he could use our help. He mentions that the worker in the hard hat to the right must be named Parakarry, because he dropped all the bags of mulch he was supposed to deliver. That number of bags was 4. Well, we have 3, and when we talk to the worker, he gives us hints that he never went into buildings when he still had them, nor did he leave the city. He expects that all of them are in gardens and parks. We'll be back in a few minutes. If we go all the way down the train tracks here that lead to the rail net, you'll bump into these two guys. If you recall, these were the guys that we fought at the very first double battle of the game Joy. Now, I'm holding off on talking about surf, because holy shit are we going to surf a lot in this episode. But this will be one exception. You can get into the water here from the lower platform, and begin surfing to the southeast. It may seem like it dead ends immediately, but just push south into the wall and you'll find it's a bridge overhead. You'll come out onto a small ledge with rocks blocking the way into the rest of Azurine Lake. Return to the glory its name deserves. You'll walk right and come upon that item that you've been seeing since episode 2. That players had been seeing, taunting them out of reach for literal years. Now we can finally take it. That item is the white flute. Yeah, maybe not the item you'd get out of bed at 5 a.m. for, but it's alright. I have to wonder if Ame planned this item here from the very beginning, or simply the notion that she wanted to tease players with an out-of-reach item. Returning to the train tracks heading north in Peridot, you'll find one area that was massively improved. Mosswater Factory, the first dungeon of the game, has been demolished, more than it already was by Julia, and replaced with an open-air market, which sells EV resets? Gimme, gimme, gimme! Wait, what? EV tuner? Swap 2 EVs? 5 for 40,000? This isn't what I wanted! Yeah, the items I'm waiting for are still further ahead in the game, so no fixing EVs easily yet. The other vendors here to speak to are the two Tudor brothers, who sell you moves like Tailwind and Stealth Rock. The rest of their moves aren't so bad either. Keep note of where these Tudor moves are located. You'll definitely want to come back at some point. Of course, they will also want colored shards as currency, so keep up the item finding and mining. At the fork in the railway, head left towards what was the other factory in Peridot, Blacksteam. When you enter, you'll learn that it has become a shelter for the homeless or those whose houses are still being renovated due to the extensive damage wrought by Team Meteor. Walking around and talking to people in the shelter, though, shows that there's a difference between plans and outcomes. On the first floor, you'll enter this room which mostly has world builders, except for this gambler. He challenges you to flipping a coin for $1,000 a pop. You'd have a hard time winning consistently, unless you were controlling space-time like me. But you could forego damaging the continuum by bringing a Pokemon with the ability Super Luck to sit at the front of your party, like the Togepi I got in episode 4 that I still haven't done anything with. If you do that, then you'll win every time, and after he loses 5 times, the gambler will get nervous and say, if we give him back the cash we won from him, he'll give us a TM, which teaches return. Haha, I get it. There's not a lot of other important people to talk to in this building, except if you go to the top left of the first floor and go down the stairs. Hang around 2 corners and go to the top of the room to find our old buddy, Randall. He says that after finally moseying on out of the Sanctum of Arceus and falling on some bad times, he made his way here and is in higher spirits than ever. Only one problem. He lost the key to his house, and doesn't have any ID on him to prove it is his house. But he's not sweating it. He's got a bunch of books to read and a clef key to magnet up the key whenever it pops up. Something tells me that I'll be the key magnet this time. Go back out into Peridot Ward to cross to the other side of the train tracks. Down this alley, after talking with the lady from Lapis about her kidnapped son, you'll happen upon these 3 cue balls. If you talk to the one closest to you, you'll find half of the instances of the word fuck in the game. He happens to be Santiago. When he tells you to come talk to him over here, he drops his tough attitude, though not his foul mouth, asking you about his Jigglypuff. However, he doesn't want to take his Pokemon back in front of the other guys, so he asks if you would find a person to hold the Pokemon for him. But if you think that's all, you're fucking mistaken. He says we have to throw down with him to make it look good, so we start a fight with him. And that's when Santiago utterly wrecked my shit. Yeah, This dude with 3 Pokemon comes wide with an Azumarill that belly drums into Aqua Jet that kills 4 of my Pokemon before he dies to Hail. Then his Lopunny massacres my Houndoom and Heracross with high jump kick and bounce respectively. Here's how you put a lid on that. Okay, now you can drop his fucking Jigglypuff off somewhere. Go further up the tracks and find youngster Joey's cousins talking. They want to find a way to surpass his top percentage Rattata. But how? You can't get over level 100. But anyway, now it's time for another installment of shoutouts to Big JRA. Because did you know about this guy standing under this awning who gives you an expert belt? That's mean placement. But a hell of an item. Now it's time for something that has been waiting since episode 1 to come to fruition. Enter the house on the top left of this plaza and meet again with the lady who gave you her Igglybuff. She's much more comfortable about the city now and is ready to take her Pokemon back. When you do give it back, your reward is a Luck Incense and Pixie Plate. Alright, double money is on the table now. At the very north end of Peridot, you'll find the other half of the reason you can't leave by train. The barrel wall remains under construction, which holds up both your exit from the city and the other restoration projects. With that, Peridot is fully explored. 2 more wards to go. Next up is Jasper Ward. What a sight! The first ward that was rendered completely unlivable looks like it was never damaged at all. Prominently as you enter the ward is the same police station, in which the chief greets and informs you that, with their force stretched far less thin, they can look into troubles you know of. That gets us to communicate the name Corin Rouge directly to his brain, the guy who stole the badass Pokemon from us at 7th Street 5 episodes ago. The chief knows of him, and his policemen have tried to apprehend him, but at this moment, he has reports that he's in 3 places at once. Those places were Malchus Forest, a small island in Azurine Lake, and around where Joey's cousins are in Peridot. He says he trusts us to bring the perp to justice. With pleasure. He's got something of mine. Down the street a couple doors, you'll talk to a girl on the right whose queue line pops up to inform you this is one of the people you need to return Pokemon to. Lilith. But there's a wrinkle about that. She actually doesn't want her Loudred back. Apparently she's gotten the best sleep in years without it. She'll eventually relent and decide she should take her Pokemon back, forsaking sleep. After she does though, she wishes she had something like a Jigglypuff to cancel it out. Hey, about that. Well, she wholeheartedly agrees to take the Jigglypuff, but she isn't going to give it to Santiago. It's hers now. I would think about that. She says she'll only give it up if we can find some other way to cancel out Loudred's shrieks. We don't have such an item yet. We'll return later. Speaking of getting something for someone that we don't currently have yet, this lady. She says that she had a misunderstanding about her fiancé and threw a ring into Azurine Lake. Now she can't fix the problem because the ring was custom. Well, I guess I can fix the problem because item finders are ridiculous. Last person to speak to is this guy, who asks if you want some geological history. That sounds boring. He starts by saying that an old civilization that used to be here was ended by Giratina. Okay, that's a bit interesting. Throughout the land, bizarre and random happenings occurred. The face of Reborn reshaped by the Dimensional Warrior, before it settled in the southeast of the region. The once frozen peak of Mount Pyrus exploded in a cataclysmic eruption, sending ash and ice across the island now known as Apophil. The ice from that now volcano melted and became Lake Azurine, thereby burying their ancient city. As for Giratina, nothing more is known about its whereabouts or actions within Reborn. That's all you could see and hear in Jasper. This will take you into Malchus Forest for a few interesting doodads. The first is this bomb mushroom. That's it, the last item on the shopping list. We'll go get our reward in a moment. If you head to the center of the forest, where the dilapidated gym that housed a barbarous tan growth once stood, you'll find that the gym has been demolished and replaced with another berry orchard. You'll find even more berries you haven't found yet, such as Enigma. Last, in the south of the forest, you'll find the man you've been looking for, Corin Rouge. But it turns out, he's not Corin Rouge. He's simply a lookalike who challenges you to defeat his 2 Pokemon. Simply overwhelming. When defeated, he says that we can find the real Corin Rouge buried in a pocket of peonies. Well, that helps very little considering the entire city is covered in flowers now. This completes Jasper Ward and Malchus Forest, but before we enter the final ward, book it back to the Spice. For tracking down their whole list of groceries, the head chef is delighted and bestows on you not 1, but 2 leftovers. Finally, one of the top tier items is mine. Now watch me probably never use them. We have just 1 ward left to explore in Reborn City. That ward, of course, is Beryl. Thus, we hear the only updated music in the city that, despite the lack of church organ, still can't avoid its somber feeling. The track no longer conveys death, stark and fresh, but remembrance. Your memories of them stay with you, even after they're gone, and you must go on. Beryl, structurally, is night and day compared to what it was before. But even though the obstruction of deadly flora is in the past, there is still obstruction. As we heard about from Silphco, there are numerous unseeable things in the way, those being many Kecleon. These little buggers are everywhere in the ward, and they will prevent us from doing everything here until later in the episode. Starting at the southwest side of the city, navigate around some of those annoying cloaked Pokemon to enter this shop, run by that inspector from the first episode. Something I never mentioned is that this guy used to have a pretty prominent cutscene in earlier releases of Reborn, which shows how he found out about Meteor's first base. Let's say he and his Torkoal lit a fire under the grunt they captured. But anyway, now he sells incense, in case you need any of those, but if you got the luck incense for the Igglybuff, I'd say you probably don't need to buy from this guy. Head up the street and enter the library again, which is looking even better than when we helped clean it up. The attendant Gothitelle continues to remind me of horror and suffering. That's pretty much all that's here for you, because Kecleon bar your way into the other rooms. Head north and east into this little park, and item find the final mulch. Before we deliver it though, let's walk into this hidden doorway to the right. As soon as you walk inside, you'll talk to 2 parents, who ask you about your league challenge. The father boasts that their daughter is a gym leader. Yeah, she's also a computer technician and lion tamer at Agate Circus. Don't know what you people did to make that witch, but apparently neither do they. She apparently just went ballistic one day and completely without the involvement of drugs. Sure, on the way back to Peridot, let's also stop here on Beryl Bridge and talk to this hiker. He tells you about the location we're trying to reach soon, Tourmaline Desert. He says that north from Reborn City is the Scrapyard, a graveyard of derailed trains. Also of note are a pretty hidden buried cave to the south and an apparently old tower that most people can't find. Finally are the Teknite Mountains to the northwest. Many places to visit in the coming episodes. Head all the way to the east side in front of the old power plant to find this techie, who wants into the back room of the power plant, but doesn't have the key. I have the key. For that, he gives you a zap plate. By the way, speaking of that back room, I didn't mention that this room allows you to evolve Magneton into Magnezone, just so you know. Anyway, let's go deliver the mulch to Seacrest really quick before we go to the northern end of the ward. Bringing him the mulch nets you an insect plate, and even better, Venusaurite. Talking with Parakarry gets you another crystal, Decidium Z. Excellent. Well, Let's go back to Barrow Ward and visit a location to the north. Corey's gym. Everything is the same as it was. No one has disturbed even a mote of dust in here. However, we have something that unlocks yet one more room in this hushed gym. The silver card. Use it on this card reader on the wall, and a hidden door opens. Inside this cluttered room, there are 3 things to interact with. First, pick up this 4-pack of EV boosters. Those will give the Pokemon you use it on an instant shot of 252 EVs to the stat of your choice. Those are super cool, but let me say this. Don't use these willy-nilly. Hold on to them in the case that, for whatever reason, you need to train a Pokemon you didn't have any idea you'd need with no wild Pokemon in sight to train on. On the other side of the room is a data chip, and finally, a letter. Of course, it's to Heather. In it, Corey tells her that he was raised naive and suffered greatly for it. He says that this is why he tried to rear her differently. He goes on to mention the truth behind her mother's death and why he joined Meteor. It was to kill the man who killed her mother, and Corey says he would welcome Heather into this endeavor. He says how, in the moment he learned that the man laced his wife's IV with poison, he robbed the man of one of his eyes. He went on to make poison his own trade, as we saw with the mind control gas. He ends speaking of pride in Heather and how they, together, will bring true retribution to Meteor. Heather takes on your legacy, Corey. Yours and Elena's. You'll head back outside and go left, into the cemetery once again. The only thing that's changed since last time is the addition of a gate and path to the south, making it easier to reach from Barrel. Nearby, we take another look at Rhodocrene Jungle. Unlike the upkeep that was done with Malchus Forest, Rhodocrene remains nearly the same as it was. Entire buildings still lay sideways in the forest, and the enormous tree at the north still stands. Something to point out is that exploration of the jungle is also hampered by the gaggle of Kecleon, such as getting into this building where the nature woman who taught grass starters Gigadrain lives. These Kecleon are going to block some significant side quests, as you'll see. If you go to where we would have been trapped by the Nuzleafs in episode 3 had we been in that timeline, you'll find a Dread Plate. The Underroot is also pretty unchanged, but we have some water HMs to utilize this time. First though, head to this cage and find the TM for Reflect. Yeah! Heading down to the bottom of the Underroot, you can finally surf on the underground lake and immediately spot another white item ball. Time for the last Kanto starter to get a Megastone, Blastoisonite. Heading north to the end of the pool, you'll find this really tall waterfall, but ascending it only teases you with a nearby Trico. You can't get to it yet though. Yep, Kecleon. We're just about done with searching Reborn City anew, but we have one last person to meet. Return to Peridot Ward where Joey's cousins are, and you'll find the man you've been looking for, Corin Rouge. But yet again, he's not actually Corin Rouge. Houndoom burns up his 2 weak Pokemon and forces him to tell us another hint. He will be in a place where the mists settle. Well, that seems to narrow it down to Coral Ward now. This brings our travels through the revitalized Reborn City to an end for now. But that doesn't mean we're done exploring. After all, since we were locked into Agate Circus, we've amassed 3 new water HMs. Time to go and use them. We'll start by returning to Tanzan Cove. If you head over to the east side of the pond, you'll find this fisherman who's been staying in the Belrose Manse since no one else is there. Just make sure to get out of there before Saphira comes back. Hop into the lake and head over to the land on the left, entering the cave. You're quickly barred from progressing once more by rock climb, so that's another one to jot down. Go back out to the water and then dive beneath. In the north end, you can pick up another metronome item, but as you swim around, you'll quickly remember what happened on this lake when you were here last. Bodies of meteor grunts lay on the lake bed. When you examine them, you can find that some of them have ID tags and maybe items. Yeah, just loot those corpses. One of them has a spooky plate on it. Like, really? Why would you take that? On the west end of the lake, you'll then find a green item ball. Well, obviously, the field effect readout you find underwater is the readout for... No. That's the second one today. Fucking killing fields. Force that from your brain and search this body nearby. You'll discover, unlike the rest, that this grunt has no dog tag. You may realize what it is we're looking for here, or rather who. Tara. And no, not the psycho clown. If you come back up for air from the watery grave, you may speak to the fisherman again. When he learns that you're interested in the bodies in the lake, he swears he hasn't and will never see anything mark his words please don't kill him, and says he'll help you out. He gives you the super rod. Ah, sick! Alright, I won't kill you. He says that he saw Wishcash thrashing around the lake, and that it's possible it ate the dog tag we need to find. Get to work looking for Wishcash to fish up, making sure you keep the Wishcash with you after catching it. Keep in mind that showing the fisherman the Wishcash will delete it from your party, so don't be showing him any shiny Wishcash. Once you show him 3 Wishcash, he'll manage to find an ID tag. If you take a look at it, you'll find out that it did belong to Tara, and that her last name was Copperman. Copperman? You mean like... Take the ID tag back to Simon in Peridot. When he reads it aloud, he says Copperman is his last name. Whatever the ramifications of this revelation are, Simon does not make that clear. All he says is that he must go reconsider his life choices. He thanks us by giving us the TM for toxic. Key, quintessential move. Good luck to you, Simon. Next up, Adventuring Woods and Iolia Valley. Remember that nook in the north end of the woods with the spiderwebs and surfable puddles? Head there with a Tauros, abandon him, then surf across the pools to reach Sharpedo Night. Then walk out of the thicket and Shiny Bunyary! Yeah, we're going to be seeing some shinies this episode. There's one more place in the Adventuring Woods to go, and that is back to the entrance to Celestinine Mountain here. After traversing the same ice puzzle as before, we head down to this water and dive down. Scouring the floor of the water cavern nets you, among other items, 5 XL and 1 rare candies, along with an ether. You'll find a cave entrance here, and ascend to the light, showing you another ice puzzle. Get onto the ice and start skating back and forth to adjust your trajectories until you bump into the big nugget. Then skate directly right for the deep sea scale. That's Gorbis sorted now too. Get out of the mountain however you can, then go back to Iolia Valley through the labyrinth. To the right immediately is a waterfall, on top of which you can break into a mountain with a red crystal key, then swap the room with the purple key. A single item awaits, that being a dark material. What? It has no use? And barely a description. Weird. Head downstream now to this TM, which is stuck behind a bush. At the bottom of the nearby waterfall is a green crystal, which hardens the shrub into smashable form. This lets you grab the TM for U-turn. Let's fly next to Spinal Town. There isn't a lot to do in the town itself, but we've got a pretty extensive puzzle dungeon coming up. What we can do in town is return to the museum to revive our remaining fossil Pokemon. For one, through enough save scumming, we come up with this Aerodactyl. Now let's get out of here and wait, what's this? What? I have never seen this room! I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was like the game's stealth updated since I beat it. This isn't like the expert belt that anyone could miss. There was a whole NPC and floor mat there, but I never knew this room existed. In this gift shop, they sell a type boosting item for every type, the Thick Club, and 3 fossils. The steel type item is even the metal coat, in case you need more after you get a Steelix and Scissor. There's one more person to see in Spinal Town, and turns out he's looking for us. He just doesn't know it yet. Go into this hotel and find this new guy standing here. who you find out is the musician McCrezzy. He thinks we're here for an autograph, but tells us he doesn't give out autographs off hours. Well, if you don't want your Roggenrola, he's super stoked to get the little pebble back, and thanks us while apologizing about thinking all we wanted was an autograph. Hold that thought a while. Now we exit Spinal Town to take a look at a cave we saw back in episode 8. At the time, we were locked out by surf, but now we can really delve into Chrysolia Spring. This place is a really complex puzzle maze that blends surf and strength together to form some really mind-bending strength movements. Start out by catching this shiny Panseer. Very important first step. Now, the next step is to push a strength boulder up to access this other boulder in the back, which you can shove onto this little geyser of water. When you do, the other one gets stronger, and if you surf over to it and stand on it, you'll be forced up onto the ledge above. This lets you walk around the upper level to shove this rock down the hole. Doing this, that rock will stay permanently down there, while any boulders you simply move around on the same floor reset between room transitions. Before joining the boulder below, grab this red card. Down one floor and to the north, you can mine 3 rocks and pick up an XL candy, but this conspicuous section has nothing else. Just up on the ledge on the left is an elixir. Now, what's the goal here? Well, that single boulder you sent down here is about to go on a trip. Several of them, in fact. You'll need to push this rock to the different sections of the room, which will require you to solve a strength puzzle maze per section, each with their own unique movement patterns. This first one is kind of a warm-up, and shows you how you need to orient your mindset. What you need to know is that you don't ever want to push a rock into a corner of 2 solid tiles. That's game over. But pushing it into the corner of 2 water tiles? That's fine, as you'll see several times. Simply surf in the water to push it away from the corner. Keep using this technique to push the boulder through the narrow land bridge over towards these 2 geysers. On the way, pick up this flame plate. Roll the rock onto the smaller of the 2 jets of water, and the taller one will get even taller. Step onto it to ride up to the upper floor again. Up here, you'll be presented with a new rock and maze. It's not hard to see that pushing it left or down is out, so either up or right is the ticket. You'll notice that pushing to the right gets you stuck in solid corners, so shove the stone north and west, get in the spring water to push it south, then follow the zigzag to reach this trickle of water. Plugging that spout will strengthen the other one, boosting you up the ledge to the cave entrance nearby. When you walk inside, your vision will be considerably worsened. And of course, this is the one time that I didn't bring Talonflame to tailwind the steam away. However, that's just to make it easier to see. It's not a requirement to solve the room. This is basically an A-share painting, where you can jump down ledges in a circle. You need to follow the outer edge of the room to reach the items in here, those being an Adamant Mint, nice one, and the TM for Will-O-Wisp. Now you'll want to return to the bottom floor and start a new boulder adventure. We'll do the bottom left one next, which is pretty straightforward. You'll ride a water spout up a ledge, push another rock to the right and down, then shoot straight up to the previous floor. This leads you to a fairly simple but longer path for the stone to take. Also, be careful along the way. There are some corners that will trap you if you push the boulder too haphazardly. Also, be careful of shiny Simisears. They know you took their young. After a quick journey, the boulder rests in the bottom of the path and you can jump up to fall down into another sauna. Right next to you is a modest mint. All the good mints are in here. Also pick up another elixir. You may not see it easily through the steam, but there's more to do in this room. 2 geysers can be stopped up with rocks, the one on the top right and top left. When they're both closed, ride one more large jet up to this small room, snagging an XL candy and the TM for overheat. Time to start Chapter 3 of the Rock Journeys, which takes place in the northwest. This time the puzzle is much tougher. You'll find pushing to the left that you'll get stuck in the corner, so loop around to the south of the rock to go up. When you push towards this spout though, the other one will puff itself up and won't let you past. That's what the central body of water will be for. You'll need to keep dipping in there to finagle the rock around the various dead ends. You'll get to here with some more simple movements before needing to jump into the center again, then do it again after pushing the stone down 4 tiles. This approach will keep repeating a few more times around the circular section. I would recommend saving as you go so that you don't accidentally push the rock into a corner and have to start all over. Eventually, the rock reaches its final destination right here, letting you take a flight up to floor 1 again. The boulder waiting for you here to give it a hand has a much easier path to take, and lets you enter a 3rd cavern. This one has an XL candy and a timid mint. Oh, and one more thing. Cameruptite. The little boulder has only one last place it wishes to see, the northeast. This one is also a little tricky. It starts by pushing the boulder all the way to the right until you can't anymore, then coming up from below and pushing it up to get to the water. Go to the right and gently move past the boulder's friend. Push the stone down the alley to this jet and sail vertically to one last puzzle. This one looks to be the most daunting of them all. 6 boulder buddies are having a day at the pool, and only one of them knows how to reach the secret cave. Taking a look at each boulder on screen, you'll find how almost all of them are in positions where they already can't be moved away from a corner or wall. The one that still has its legs is the one second to last from the right, but the rest are going to get in his way. Push these 2 rocks into corners first, then make the rightmost boulder take a step down before moving our rock to the left. Be very careful not to landlock our rock here. It's pretty easy to do. Now you need to move him to the left, but you have to move the left boulder up and out of our way. That requires moving the right boulder up to get by it. Escort the VIP rock to the spout and the way on is revealed. You drop down one more hole and find the final cave. You'll find a jolly mint on the ground right away, and then you'll need to scale some obscured cliffs to the last item, the red flute. There's also another XL candy and big nugget in here. That's Chrysolia Spring done and dusted. We're closing in on the largest part of the map to explore soon, but we have one more major area to take a look at. Apophil Academy. The moment you land, you'll find that Apophil's music is also different, but not by a modification of its earlier theme. An entirely different track takes its place in Neo Reborn, that being Glitch City's remix of Lush Forest from Super Mystery Dungeon. I found this track interesting. I first thought that something bad was happening on Apophil when I heard it, but rather, it's another step of intensity in your never-ending rise to the top. Apophil is about the same as it was, but Letty inside tells us that, though Victoria has done her best to hold the school together, it is emptier than it used to be. Even so, they will carry on. She then gives us 3 Apophil applications to give to people. A little pushy there? If you go into the courtyard and enter the middle left door, you'll find a girl on her headphones who we learn is Felicia, one of the other people we need to return a Pokemon to. However, she's not that excited about the Makuhita. She wants Arclight's autograph. Well, alright, hopefully Arclight is more amenable than Macrezzy. Fly back to Obsidia to this very convenient destination that's right in front of the nightclub. How suspicious and familiar. Anyway, walk inside, give the DJ the rundown for once, and he'll hand you an autograph. Return to Felicia and she'll be jumping for joy. Yeah, hey, you want this Pokemon, right? She takes back her Pokemon, then gets right back to her music on her incredibly good noise-canceling headphones. Hey, no way, she says, not for anything but an autograph from Master Macrezzy. Hey Macrezzy, I need an autograph for headphones for a Jigglypuff for a Loudred for a ring. He's not that pleased that we changed our minds, but he decides he'll make an exception for us. But then he asks a request of us. Battle him. Oh, right, yeah, I'm alright at that. Macrezzy has a team of 6, somewhat surprisingly, but I beat him in one try. And even though there are some interesting exchanges in here, including another demonstration from the Clutch Master, I'm going to truncate this fight for the sake of the video length. Fight starts Meowstic against Incineroar. She faints. Incineroar switches away from Greninja into Starmie. Greninja switches into Vanillix. Clutch Master. Greninja beats Incineroar, then loses to Armaldo. Talonflame rushes down Armaldo. Heracross comes out to pummel Amistar, who survives from Focus Sash, misses a Hydro Pump, dies to Hail. Talonflame does Tailwind before Staraptor beats him up. Vanillux blizzards the bird, Flygon is last, Houndoom Destiny Bonds it. Pretty lucky fight on my part, but it wouldn't have taken so long. For winning, Necrezi gifts us one more prize, the TM for Hyper Beam. Return to Felicia, show her the autograph, take headphones, run. Go back to Jasper, give headphones, say something, go back to Peridot, say something. Then hear from Santiago that he and his two bald buds have the kid, meaning Eustace. He decides he doesn't approve of this job and lets you know where you can go to help the kid. The rooftop garden in Onyx Ward. But be prepared for a fight. In Onyx Ward, go into this building, head up to the roof, and step outside to be immediately accosted by two of the cue balls we saw from the alley. They gang up on you and start a 2v1 battle, though only possessing a total of 6 Pokemon. They lead with Dark Muck and Weezing, to Heracross and Meowstic on my end. That's not a bad combination to deal with this, though I don't think that Heracross is going to kill Alolan Muck in one hit, so Meowstic will fake it out to keep it from Dark typing her. Heracross hits a close combat, but that doesn't kill, and Weezing hits Meowstic with Sludge Bomb and poisons, while Heracross burns herself. Next turn is easy, killing the weak and slow Muck with a Brick Break, while Meowstic can kill the other poison type with Psychic. The two thugs send their next wave, a Mudsdale and, oh god, a Zarina. Why whenever there's trouble, you show up? Meowstic can't really do anything here, but I aim Psychic at the Queen with Heracross's Mega Horn, which nails a Zarina and kills her right away. Psychic redirects to Mudsdale for a small amount, which activates its Stamina ability. The donkey responds with a Rock Slide that takes out Meowstic and hurts Heracross a little. Into that I put Vanillux, while the left side bald man puts in Licky Licky. Well, that's going to be Heracross's job, while Vanillux's Blizzard hopefully clobbers the Clydesdale. Licky Licky is pummeled out, but Mudsdale barely hangs on, only to be frozen and this time stay frozen. Lucky for once. The other gangster ends with a Zangoose, which I'm also ready to pummel. But unfortunately, Heracross has taken a beating from hail and burn damage, and Quick Attack from Zangoose takes her down. The Blizzard from Vanillux doesn't take care of it, so Talonflame will come out with full HP to hit it with priority for an easy kill. Well, that wasn't that bad, so you must be realizing by now why I hyped up this scene. That's right, we found ourselves in another gauntlet. One I personally despise for a reason I will go into after it's over. But that's if I don't rip out my hair first. The Roughnecks now call for their boss. Who is it? You're about to meet him. The most irritating twist in this game. It's the boy. He mocks you from above as he introduces himself as Eustace. Yeah, here he is, the last step of the stolen Pokemon quest, and he's against us. What is he doing here if he's not the kidnap victim? He's running the show to get his rich uncle, the rock star we just beat a couple minutes ago, to cough up a ton of cash to the cue balls, most of which will go to Eustace. But now that he's told us his plan, that means we have to battle him in order to quote-unquote rescue him. Dude, I'll just tell Arclight you're an asshole. I'm sure that... Do you see that? That's right. You don't get healed. Hope you didn't get wrecked in the first stage. Welcome to a true gauntlet. You may think that Eustace only having 5 Pokemon instead of 6 makes this easy enough. Well, just watch this Manectric. It kills Talonflame after it puts up Tailwind. It kills Houndoom when his Flamethrower, weakened by the rain because I'm bad at this game, doesn't kill. Vanillux can beat it, but next is Alakazam. Good thing that Greninja just learned Night Slash in the middle of this fight. Too bad it doesn't win and Alakazam responds with Focus Blast. Oh, sick, it missed! Then the Tailwind ends, and I didn't use Water Shuriken instead of Night Slash again. Alakazam is faster, and kills both Greninja and Vanillux. So yeah, I hate this fight. A lot. I feel annoyed that Manectric starts out for Eustace and I have no ground types, but I don't know if that's important enough to change teammates for. I go back against the 2 cue balls again, which for the most part goes similar, except that I switched in Talonflame to save Meowstic from Mudsdale. Mudsdale then kills Talonflame instead with Rock Slide. That felt bad and stupid. Then a Mudsdale with full HP survives against Blizzard and kills Vanillux. Heracross then dies again to Quick Attack from Zangoose, and instead of killing him, Water Shuriken once again gives me a 2-hit and Zangoose takes half of Houndoom's HP before biting it. Now we have 3 Pokemon against Eustace, one of which is Meowstic, who lived this time. She doesn't get to put up Light Screen. Yeah, I lost. Okay, we'll get something for that Manectric. Camerupt, which will replace Talonflame. Now let's do this again, with Camerupt up front to take care of Muck. Here's the thing. This makes the first fight unbelievably bad. Meowstic, of course, outspeeds everything here, but when I blast the Weezing with Psychic to beat it right off the rip, Muck's power of alchemy takes Weezing's Levitate. Isn't that nice? So Earthquake does nothing. Next attempt. So instead of killing Weezing first turn, I fake it out and use Earthquake on the Muck. It doesn't kill. Then Meowstic kills Weezing before the follow-up attack, and the Muck floats in the air again instead of dying. Reset. Let's just go back to what we were doing. This annoys me though. I wanted Camerupt up front so that it could be the first thing Manectric sees, but we'll have to figure it out another way. So we're back to Heracross next to Meowstic. But in attempting to save Meowstic, I tried using Greninja to take the Rock Slide and use Water Shuriken. Would you like to guess how many hits it did? 2. The answer is 2. Greninja dies. The rest of the fight progresses to the Zangoose, who quick attacks Heracross but this time does not kill her, leaving her on a tiny fragment of HP. So now we have 5 going into Eustace, but I do something that almost bites me. I fake out the Manectric, but Poison on Meowstic takes her so low that when I switch to Camerupt expecting Thunderbolt, he instead eats a hidden power that does half to him. I'm about to get really pissed until Camerupt survives the second one and then crushes the electric type with Earthquake. Okay, that's dealt with. Now it's time to deal with Sceptile. Oh, fuck. That thing is fast. So fast, it outspeeds and kills Houndoom before he could try to do anything, like flamethrowing in the rain. I had one last chance when Rock Slide didn't kill Vanillux, but he flinched. Eustace, you fucking little... I decide to fight a couple new trainers that are floating in the lake by Coral Ward for levels. And by levels, I mean I barely beat them with my whole team, so very few of them get any experience. I resort to beating both of their last Pokemon with Destiny Bond. Even these random trainers are kicking my ass. I say screw it, dump some XP candy into my Pokemon's mouths, then take Greninja out and put Talonflame back. Back to the rooftop for more pain, I found a new way to lose. Mega Horn missing. That gets the Zarina to play rough against Heracross for a one-shot. How about no? The next attempt gets back to Eustace Kid again with Meowstic dead, but we add Heracross to that immediately as she futilely attempts an attack. Why did I do that? If it was going to use Thunderbolt most likely, then just fucking switch into Camerupt for no damage. But whatever, we send out Camerupt to use Earthquake and the kid switches into Sharpedo. Oh. So that monster is fast as fuck too, and though he's nearly dead from one Earthquake, his speed boost means he's going to brutalize my team. He's so close though that Hail could probably kill it, so I send out Vanillux. It attacks with Aqua Jet and Waterfall to kill Vanillux, but 2 Hailstones puts the shark on ice. Now I have to put something in blind, which I make Houndoom. That was a mistake because Alakazam comes back. I didn't want this, so I put in Camerupt to tank the hit. Camerupt doesn't tank it. I futilely put Houndoom back, who also doesn't avoid the Focus Blast and dies. Now we'll put in Talonflame, who should have gone first with a Tailwind, but now it'll have to Brave Bird to kill. Brave Bird fails to kill. What a parade of wrong decisions on my part. After another 2 attempts where Megahorn misses Zarina, we get back to the little shit. This time I go straight into Camerupt, who baits the Thunderbolt for a free switch. I know it's going to switch again to Sharpedo, but I just slam it hard with Earthquake, then sack Heracross into its next attack to put in a full HP Talonflame to out Prio. Or so I thought! Its Aqua Jet is the same priority and it's faster, so Talonflame is KO'd. The only thing that's helping is that its own Life Orb is nearly killing it, but I'll have to sack Vanillux to it as well to get a kill. But I underestimated the Clutch Master this time, as he survives a waterfall to see the shark tire from putting its life into its attacks. For this, we finally see Eustace's last Pokemon, Scizor. Well, it's not raining, so it's time for Houndoom to do some quad damage. He takes a bullet punch, but the red steel bug is toast. We've got Manectric coming back, and Camerupt is ready to quake it. Camerupt takes a hidden power like before, and instantly beats the Manectric. But now it's time for Sceptile again. As per usual, a starter Pokemon gets to have all the coverage in the universe, killing my Camerupt easily with its own Earthquake. It's over. Vanillix and Houndoom don't have what it takes. Unless Rock Slide misses, but no. It doesn't miss Vanillix, and it does miss Houndoom, who kills Sceptile. But this is pointless. Alakazam is last, and it misses Focus Blast! And Dark Pulse is not enough, and Focus Blast doesn't miss again. That's it. That's the last straw. I'm not going to get that lucky again, and I've lost 10 times to this infuriating gauntlet. I realize right now the obvious truth. Everything Eustace sends out is faster than my team. Everything. And the answer is clear. Trick Room. It's pointless trying to use Tailwind for this fight. It only lasts 4 turns, but Trick Room with an Amplified Rock lasts 8. So who's going to use Trick Room? Dusclops, like I've often alluded? No, not this time. Meowstick? I didn't remember she could until late, but I'd rather not, and she's always dying in the gangster fight anyway. No, it's time to bring back another returning teammate. Slowbro. You couldn't get Slowpoke until this episode, using the Super Rod in the Cresselia Spring. Really good timing too, because she's going to be great in this fight. She came preloaded with Psychic, and I can dump Surf and Trick Room on her with an Amplified Rock. She also has Regenerator, an unbelievably amazing ability to regain a third of her HP every time she switches out. I also got this shiny Geodude while training her. What isn't shown is the extra 2 shiny Noibats that appeared too. I only caught 1 of those. Bumping her up to level 78 and putting her in place of Talonflame, it's time to teach this kid a lesson. The cue balls don't even see Slowbro, so there's nothing to worry about there. We get through without Meowstic again, and I have the first 3 turns ready. Switch away from Heracross to Camerupt to suck up a Thunderbolt, though Manectric for some reason uses Flamethrower this time, only doing a small amount to Camerupt, no big deal. Second turn, predict to switch to Sharpedo and switch to Slowbro. Sharpedo is very unfortunate here, but I maxed out Slowbro's HP, so we just gotta hope that Crunch doesn't kill Trick Room online. Slowbro could escape to regen, but with that little HP, I'd rather let my other teammates keep their HP. Sadly, she still can't attack before the Aqua Jet, but it's fine. Vanillix is going to come out and freeze that Sharpedo dry. Scizor is next, so I go into Houndoom and... oh, right. Houndoom was naturally faster. Whoops. It's alright. Camerupt can do it just as well. He gets the Bullet Punch this time, and Lava Plumes to massacre the Scizor. Alakazam will be appearing next, so it's time for Heracross to please not miss the Mega Horn. Good! And please don't miss the Sceptile! Yes! All that's left is the opening Manectric, and we find out who is faster. The Discharge Pokemon, or the Camel. Not the Camel, and that means we win. Finally, fucking Eustace. I distinctly remember this fight making me really angry last time. Looks like some things never change. After the kid whines how adults ruin everything, another point towards me being an adult, all 3 of our opponents leave the rooftop. But we have to follow the brat back to his house in Lapis, bringing along the Pokemon that was stolen from him. Do you remember which Pokemon that was? It was Vanillite. And thus we come to the personal reason I hate Eustace. You see, the last time I played Reborn, I didn't know about the early Vanillite in the candy store. I only got it at first from the 7th Street vendor and didn't know to keep it for later. Here's the thing. Eustace will gladly take a Vanillix, but you'd better get your head checked if you think I was going to part with my clutch master. He's mine. But he won't take any other Vanillite, so it seemed like I had reached an impasse. Fortunately, there was a solution. I could give him his Vanillite back, still as a Vanillite. How? It's all thanks to what I had been doing up until then while playing. Keeping earlier save files in case I wanted to go back for some reason. Until then, there had been no practical use for them. But it just saved this side quest for me. What I did was copy one of the backup saves from a point when I already had gotten the Vanillite to another computer, install Reborn on that computer, and enter an online trade between past and present. Bingo. 2 Eustace Vanillites, and we could deliver to Eustace the old one, while the Clutch Master remained with me. Anyway, back in our current run with better planning, we head to Lapis with an untouched Vanillite for the little brat we defeated. When we talk with him, he spouts off some more about his next evil plans, involving lots of Electrode. Just as a mini Julia begins to take form, we shove the ice cream into his hands. This act of kindness stops Eustace in his tracks, and he realizes he's done wrong. He decides he will turn over a new leaf. Now if he steals his uncle's money, he'll donate to charity, or he'll blow up Citrine Mountain to make room for more housing. That helps, right? I'm done caring about you. We have a reward to collect. The absolute most important item in this game. The key to defeating all the monstrous challenges still to come. A Mega Z Ring. It isn't even a question. If you didn't have this item, how could you possibly expect to surmount this entire game? Thank you, Arclight. Yeah, I'll see you later. Sooner than you think. We got off track. We were on a Pawfil before we ended up finishing Arclight's task. Let's return and battle these 2 trainers. They have no idea what's about to happen to them. Ladies and gentlemen, Mega Camerupt, the ultimate Trick Room monster. At this moment, he's the only Mega I'm ready to use. But it's pretty easy to tell that I have quite a few Megas that need just their respective stones. Beating these 2 fighting trainers gives you a bunch of XP candy. I don't know how to segue for this shiny Palisand, so we're about done with a Pawfil, but we have something to go do on Mount Pyrus. Ascend the entire volcano and reach the summit where we had battled Solaris for the first time. There's something we can get here, but it's not something you can see. It's only something... You can fish? Yeah, how cryptic is that? You can fish up the entire Charmander line from this caldera. This is only allowed when you get the Super Rod. Now we will go from Mountain Summit to Beneath the Waves. It's time to tackle one of the largest exploration segments in the entire game, Azurine Lake. There's an unbelievable amount of things to do in, around, and under the lake. So let's jump in by Coral Ward. The nearby lighthouse key was said to be lost, and no one knows how to get in there. Well, time for another cryptic solution. Just press your use key while floating behind the southern lighthouse, and lo and behold, the water is deep here. This is awfully tough to find, but when you do, you can find an elixir up here, and then go through the cave. Rise to the surface and find yourself in the lighthouse. Climb up the ladder to find 3 items: a coral key, a jolly mint, and a big nugget. You already know what that key is for. Swim over to the other lighthouse and unlock the door. Take a plunge into more deep water and discover this situation. A Poplio floats trapped by the 2 Clampearl evolutions, who are fighting over the seal. Excuse me, that starter is mine. We engage the Huntail and Gorbis in doubles, but this fight is surprisingly vicious. Both Pokemon are level 78. I end up getting immensely lucky with Greninja being able to go first, slamming the Huntail for massive damage with Surf since water versus water is a neutral matchup. Gorbis unfortunately dodges the Surf with some underwater shenanigans, but neither of these evolutions end up hitting Greninja back. Vanillux never managed to go before being drowned, but Greninja getting a second attack basically clinches the fight. For delivering the Poplio from a fate as chum, the Sea Lion joins you. Along with this, you discover a King's Rock and the TM for Giga Impact. Now we can get out onto the lake proper, heading west from Coral Ward. Beware more of the astoundingly powerful swimmer trainers on the lake. God, we should just give the keys to these trainers and make Meteor fight them. They'll never win. Sticking to the rocks to the north will lead you to a sandbar, where you'll find the man you've been looking for, Corin Rouge. Yeah, that's not him either. All 3 reports were all false, but this final fake gives you one more clue to lead to the real Rouge. He is in a place where trainers fight. When we return to Coral Ward, we'll need to investigate its newly reconstructed gym. Walk to the left from fake Corin Rouge 3 to find a fist plate. You'll find that the lake has several corridors you can traverse, one of which leads north all the way to Peridot Ward. Heading southwest from there leads to another corridor that reaches the northern end of Apophil Beach. Following the rocks to the east, you'll eventually find this tiny beach to get out of the surf. You'll see more diving to do, but first go to this sandy mound to get another elixir. Now, what's underwater? Well, the researcher in Jasper already told us. An ancient city, buried underwater. Houses dot the lake floor, some with still locked or sealed doors, some open. You'll find the name Sunrise on one of these doors. Swim into this open door, entering a house frozen in time and eroded by the water. You'll find a couple interesting things. First is a relic copper. Within these houses underwater are several forms of this ancient city's currency. I won't always mention them, but they're worth picking up to sell. The other item to find, which the game makes obvious by having it glint, is a key marked S12. Enter another house to the north, in which you'll find a relic silver and another key, this one marked K33. Also, there was another shiny Pukumuku here. It died. That appears to be everything in these depths, but if you surface on the northern end, you'll discover that you are on the other side of the rocks from where we started. You'll definitely need to think 3-dimensionally for this lake. Up here, you can surf to the northwest to find that item on the tiny island, another one that has teased you for many episodes. This one is a water stone. Now that one was not exciting at all. So the fact you have 2 keys should clue you in that there are more houses submerged in the lake. So you'll start searching the edges of the enclosure. Doing that, you may notice this sneaky hole next to this sandbar. Dive in, circle around, and pick up the TM for light screen. Yes, yes, and yes. Head back up to the northern end of the Sunrise neighborhood, and you'll notice that there's a single tile to jump into another section and dive down. Before you do though, come over here and get this red card. Dive below the surface now, and on the left, 3 sealed doors stop you. Another larger house sits in the middle of the trench, also locked. Down here, you'll find another doorless ruin, though it only has an ice heel and heart scale. Leaving and swimming farther right, you'll find this slightly more sunken house, which you can apparently read as Sunrise 12. Hey, that matches the key we found. Float inside and pick up another key, marked S4. That happens to be this house. Inside here is not another key, but another TM. Power-up punch. That's all there is to Sunrise, at least for now. We have a key still marked with a K, so we must be able to find similar places to this elsewhere. Let's head south through this corridor between rocky barriers and head towards Apophil. If you're looking closely, you'll see this cave open to the sea. Inside, you can grab a Great Ball and XL candy and a field effect readout. A field effect readout that is, and is not, underwater. 2 others underwater, but not the one, oh whatever. Oh, there's one more item, oh! I like this cave. Head southeast a little now to find this thin beach. Surf and dive again to find another ancient neighborhood, this one called Fairview. After a few houses that won't let you in, this one lacks a door, allowing you to collect the F14 key. And a saltwater taffy. Just think for one moment about that. This taffy is sitting in a probably centuries-old house on the bottom of a lake, which for the last decade or so has been mired with acidic poison. Yeah, feed that to your Pokemon, they'll love it. To the northwest, past another large house, is a small one with more underwater candy, 5XL XP candies. Go north from that to already find Fairview 14, which we unlock. Inside is a relic gold, and the S9 key. Going to have to backtrack to Sunrise. Swim up to another open house to take their F34 key. F34 fits in this house on the bottom left of the crater. Trade one key for another, the F1 key. Fairview 1 is the very top house on this block, this large one. This house possesses the blue flute, adding one more to your bag. That's all we can do here at Fairview. I fly back to Peridot to start from the north of the lake again, and So yeah, I accidentally bumped into this swimmer, who with 3 Pokemon, defeated my entire team from full HP. He got fucking lucky, freezing my Greninja for 4 turns, and dodging Jumpluff's sleep powder at the end of the battle. So why tell you this? Why have I not reset yet? And most importantly, why lose $18,000? Because the last time I saved was before the entire Fairview area I just did. I utterly despise redoing sections of a game. So instead, I ate the loss. It really, really sucks. Especially since it won't be the last time I have to lose this episode. Well, I can recoup some of that money. Let this be a lesson. Back to exploring the lake. If you go to Apophil Cave and swim just north, you'll find another beach beyond the hills. Walk all the way up this beach, swim across to this one, stroll up another beach, and pick up another King's Rock. As you swim south again, you'll see an inlet into another trench. Dive down and get started searching Kingsbury. Well, now we know where the K key goes. Going south a ways, enter this building to add another key to your bag, K5. To its right, you'll take out the earlier key you got and fit it into K33 here. The glint in the cupboard draws you in, but it's not a key this time. It's a Pokemon, which appears to be sick. Hopefully you have one antidote on you, which cures the Pokemon, revealed to be Mudkip. I like that. Further to the right amidst a few other closed houses is this one to drift into. Take the Relic Silver and K22 key. They're not going to need it. Swimming north will reveal another open house, which has a splash plate in it. Circle all the way around the cul-de-sac again to find K22 here, letting you take K2's key. North of the lower circle, you'll find another house inviting you in. Within is an item that everyone would love. A glitter ball. What is a glitter ball? It's a Reborn custom Pokeball that will either catch shinies more easily or better, turn non-shiny Pokemon shiny on catch. Oh, to have just one of these. Save it for your absolute favorite Pokemon if you can find it in the wild. Just past this wonderful prize is the House of Kingsbury 2. Inside, scrounge up the key F10. Another backtrack it is. Semicircle around to the right to find K5, which you can also unlock and get a Max Revive. Nice. That can go with the other Max Revive I got from the lottery. Yeah, I don't know where else to fit that. My jaw was on the floor. That's almost everything in Kingsbury, but I skipped a small crook towards the bottom of the area. There's one more house that's open. Inside of it, we find something that got here very recently. A diamond ring. How did that get into this house? Don't think too hard. We'll go return that soon, but let's get through the rest of the lake first. You might think that's all, but when you go back outside, you should spot something in the walled-off square to the left. Surface and swim over to another tiny dive spot, then submerge and obtain Ciel's Mega Evolution, Altarianite. That takes care of Kingsbury, but when we surface, we'll see this island with a ranger. This island has some more secrets to plunder, but make sure you have something that freezes water's surface like Blizzard. Before we get in there, go to the north of this ring of rocks to find a sky plate. Now it takes some doing to find a way into the cave north of the ranger, but if you look on the far side of the rocks blocking you, you'll see another one of those 2x2 holes. dive underwater and come back up through that hole. Once you surf around to the other side and enter the cave, a message states that a chill is in the air. Never mind that for the moment. Get out onto dry land and witness the Pyukumuku High King, sitting atop his throne, guarding his TM treasure. I challenge thee, High King. And there it is. The level record has finally reached level 100. Pyukmuk, king of all Pyukumuku, will test our resolve. However, he didn't reckon with meeting the Clutch Master. I am the new High King of the Pyukumuku. I take this throne and this brutal swing, TM. Now stay here, my subjects. I am going on a journey. Over to this water surface again, with Vanillix still alive fortunately. When you climb the waterfalls in this cavern up to the top, you can obtain an icicle plate, but you'll be stopped cold by the rushing water from an inner cave. But speaking of cold, you should use your means to freeze on an enemy on water surface here. When the battle ends, the water rushing from that cave is now frozen, letting you skate right in. This nets you 2 more crystals, an Audinite and an Aloritium Z. Man, the Megastones for Pokemon I'm actually using are still being held from me. Time to vacate this cave, and time to go finish up with the other 2 keys we have. First, coming back to Fairview, find this house on the right side of the buried burrow and fit the key in the lock. We will get another Megastone, Beedrolite. That leaves 1 more key, with which we return to Sunrise and open this large house. Enjoy yet another Megastone, Glalatite. So that takes care of the 3 underwater neighborhoods we've seen so far. But there's actually 1 more. It's back in the east near Coral Ward. We can surf from the bottom of Apophil Beach to reach it, but on the way, we'll touch on another part of Azurine Lake we haven't talked about yet, Azurine Island. The music for Azurine Island has also changed, becoming another remix of Shoal Cave done by GlitchX City. This one is a bit closer in tone to the original than the Team Meteor theme that's played 50 times already. Here on Azurine Island, not a lot has changed. Some new minor items have spawned, but you'll yet again be harangued by the endless Foongus and Amoongus who disguise themselves as items. But other than those items, there's nothing to do here yet. We will need to come back here in a future episode for a side quest, but for now, let's cross over the island towards one more undersea town. Where we have to go is actually just south of Azurine Island, another of those very hard to see shafts of water. This leads us into the last block of ancient houses, this one called Feyward. However, there's only one house that matters to us, this one that's open. Inside is a Primarium Z and a relic vase. Now that relic, it's worth a lot of money to sell. Remember, you'll need all the money you can get. The last thing you can get is back on the surface above Feyward, over on this tiny beach, our second weakness policy. Great. And with that, Azurine Island is fully explored. However, we have in hand a ring that someone needed to get back. That leads us to the next side quest, a trading sequence. Return to Jasper Ward to give the ring back to the lady. She is ecstatic and amazed, going on to say that they were nearly about to do something drastic to pay for the replacement ring. Instead, she gives that drastic plan to us. Classified information. Do I want this? What am I supposed to do with classified? Oh, there's a policeman and other person in here. These documents? Hey, wait, I can explain. Well, I just resisted arrest. By beating the cop's team, the other guy tells him that he must understand a situation before running headlong into it. That's when the man in the trench coat tells us that they're with the International Police, and he tells us his code name. Yep, it's Looker. The famous detective found his way to Reborn to deal with a sinister organization. Hey, take it from me. Just get out of here. Team Flare or Team Skull are more your speed. He then asks how we came to possess these papers, and we tell him we're just holding it for someone else. He believes us. We then give him the documents and he finds they are still sealed, so he considers the case closed. The policeman Seer takes responsibility for losing them in the first place and hands us a pink pearl. Looker wishes us well, musing that we may meet again. Not while I'm playing as this protagonist. You should remember who needs a pink pearl, but don't leave that mind plate behind. Head back to Coral Ward again and go into the warehouse. The girl with the spoink sees we found the pig's pearl and places it back on its head. The spring pig bounces more lively now, and the girl thanks us for helping her. She gives us the item that was on the spoink's head, which you might think would be a megastone. It's a crystal, but not that kind. It's a crystal ball. Another strange item, with no lead on where to bring it. Who needs a crystal ball? These two people who jump off the roof to ambush me in Jasper Ward? I don't think they need it, but they are surely going to try taking it. Okay, enough being cute. I just walked into a brick wall. Yeah, this double fight that begins, you wouldn't know it, but it has a total of 8 Pokemon against your 6. This is a miserable fight, and I lost several times, but this will be another time I'm going to cut this short. It's just in the best interest of the video. After losing 3 times to this fight, I lead with Meowstic and Heracross, facing against Absol and Ampharos. The Absol likes to sucker punch Meowstic, but her fake out goes first to flinch Ampharos. This invalidates Absol's attack too, letting Heracross Mega Horn the Absol away. Heracross gets a second KO with close combat on the Ampharos as Kabutops puts her away with Waterfall. Excellent turn after that has Meowstic knock out Kabutops before it attacked and flinching the Slowking with Dark Pulse. Next turn, an Infernape that was destroying me on previous attempts comes out to avenge the Slowking that just fainted from Houndoom, taking out my dog before it gets mind crushed by Psychic. Delmise and Golurk take the field afterwards as Arcanine heat waves the Delmise to death right away. Meowstic switched for Vanillux. Then the other bastard in this fight, Typhlosion, comes out and melts my Vanillux before he could attack. Arcanine gets a heat wave out that kills Golurk thanks to Hail, but that just activated Flash Fire on the Typhlosion. Greninja Water Shurikens it as it heat waves us back, taking out Arcanine, but then Meowstic returns to fake it out. Greninja ends the fight with more Water Shuriken. That was awful, and it came out of nowhere. I had to beat 8 Pokemon by myself, but it didn't take too many tries. God, imagine if the game made you fight 12 opponents by yourself. No way, the game wouldn't be that cruel. When you defeat these 2 hooligans, you'll learn that they heard a fortune was stolen from here and was waiting for someone to come back to return it, then jumped them to take it for the reward. Fortunately, I was better than 2 ace trainers and they leave. Enter the building and go into the upper room. Inside, we find another flute, the yellow one, and a new field effect readout. This one is for... no. Head upstairs, and you'll discover the only person to talk to, her name being Misdirection. She tells us that she has the ability to see into the future, at the expense of remembering what happened in her past. That sounds horrible. How are you alive? What's worse is that she lost her ability to see the future either, so all she has is a constantly transient present. Does this crystal ball help? Indeed it does, as she finds relief again. She knows then that she is supposed to give us this key, marked with an R. She then says we may also hear our fortune at no charge. However, we may not like the outcome. What she conveys to us is a strange and off-putting vision. Read it if you want. What will this mean? It will be a long time before it can be understood. Now you have a key, but what does the R mean? The R stands for Randall. Find him still reading at the Peridot shelter, and he will be mighty thankful that you retrieved the key. He says he'll head on home soon, but realizes that his clef key would be bored once his adventure is over. For that reason, he decides to entrust his faithful keychain to us. It has been real, Randall. Now, don't send that clef key to the PC right away. If you did, you'll want to take it back out and look at what it's holding. Naturally, it's a key. A Sanctum key. That's much less obscure than the R key. Go back down to 7th Street and head into Sub-7 Sanctum again. We left a locked door on the west side of the maze room. Unlock it and go inside. Another room of lore awaits. First, pick up the item on the table. Another dark material. 2 of them now. What can be done with them? Still nothing yet. After getting 3 more XL candy and noting the order of the colored Arceus statues from top to bottom, hint hint, go read the 3 documents. The bottom right one seems to be a tabletop rulebook, crammed with extra detached pages. Each one appears to be a character sheet, with names that seem to match with some certain adversaries. Some much more obviously than others. To the left is a much more well-maintained document, marked as a Personnel Roster Volume 1. Within, the first name written is Elias, with a code name we've never heard. Following his name is one which shares his last name, but isn't Luna, Luca. After that, the name Taube, whose code name is very close to another we've heard. 2 others follow it with the same last name, ending with the name of a person that you may suspect you've met already. Finally, the 3rd document recounts a tale, that of the blind man who serves Arceus, Elias. He tells that his life did begin in blindness, and that he was from one of the oldest families in Reborn. He speaks of how one family's calling was to guard the shrine of the meteor site of Arceus. His family's calling was to serve that family. For generations, his family served theirs until his time. Now, as a blind boy, he was considered a liability to the Guardian family. The person he would be meant to serve was 10 years his junior, and he would be known as Solaris. But Solaris was not always zealous in his belief in Arceus and his duties to protect the shrine. He lashed out against it in resentment, something Elias resonated with. Elias was never allowed to meet with Solaris until well into adulthood, but when he finally did, Solaris extended his hand to him, rebelling against the 2 families' dismissal of Elias. In the years that followed, Elias recounts how Solaris found it foolish to be guarding a rock so closely when it was already locked up by 4 keys. He had no idea why someone would try to defile it. And then came the fateful day, when Solaris discovered his parents murdered at the hands of a thief seeking those keys. Solaris beat the assailant to death, screaming for an answer from him why he did this. To obtain the great power within the meteor, Solaris learned the folly of his rebellion and paid for it with the lives of his parents. Though Solaris walked the path he was duty-bound to with true conviction, Elias remained unmoved. That's when Solaris came to him and bid him to hold one of the keys, the emerald, and follow in his resolve. Elias agreed. The next day, he awakened to a sensation that utterly transformed him and his faith. He could see. Elias ends by speaking of how he worries for his daughter and Solaris' son, but says he fears most for the heretics in the city above. They will be the ones punished by Arceus. Does this motivation excuse their actions? Do the ends justify the means? Time for a complete tonal shift. It's almost time to go talk to a certain character in the Grand Hall. But before that, let's do one last side quest. This one is the most ridiculous and cryptic one in the entire game. Honestly, I have no idea how you'd come up with this solution on your own. We're about to obtain our first pseudo-legendary. Here's what you need to do. Start by flying to Bixbysian Wasteland, which drops you off in front of Cain and Aya's house. When you go inside, you'll find their mother fighting with the healing machine, which appears to be on the fritz. When you examine it, you will find a port for a data chip. Plug one in, and then... These Pokemon can't be obtained. All you need to do here is use the healing machine now. Then exit the house and fly to Route 1 in front of the Nature Center. Here comes the moon logic. You need to fight a Buffalant to ride a Tauros. Then you need to lose a battle. Yeah, really. I do this by bringing my Heracross to easily wreck the Bouffalant, but how do you get a powerful Heracross to faint here? Two things. Toxic Orb, False Swipe. Do that, and your Heracross is very likely to faint. You could do this more simply with something that knows a self-KO move that can beat the Bouffalant first, but this was the easiest way for me to do it. Of course, what really sucks is that I once again lost money to this defeat, as I just spill my money out of my pockets in front of this wild Ponyta. Maybe I shouldn't be carrying $400,000. But anyway, we lose the battle. And then this happens. Why the hell are we still riding the Tauros? How would you possibly know that would happen? This Tauros doesn't follow you anywhere else in the game, just to this single healing machine. Lana, with the addition of us on a Tauros as well as several more errant Pokemon, is quite upset. Get out of her house. So what are you supposed to do with this Tauros in the wasteland? Well, go up ledges. Start by going south to this ledge, letting you skip most of the travel to the Bixbysian Grotto. Take the secret path behind the left cylinder, jump up this ledge to easily push the Strength Rock, then go outside. You'll remember this is where we got the Squirtle in episode 8, but there was that last ledge that we were on the wrong side of. Climb up it and into the cave, where you will then ascend the ladder with a Tauros. Even the sentient signage calls bullshit on that one. Pick up the big nugget here, then interact with the broken canister. Uh-oh. I didn't do it. Please don't be Glitchfield. Beldum. Now this is a troll wild encounter. At level 1, any move we do, including False Swipe, will kill this thing. How? Remember, a Beldum's only move is Takedown. You False Swipe that Pokemon, it's taking itself down. Of course, my dumb ass forgot to bring Jump Fluff to make cold catching it easier. Not easy, since this thing has a legendary's catch rate. However, it slowly weakens itself with Takedown, and in just one attempt, I catch the pre-evolution to Metagross. Pretty lucky all things considered. Now the question is, am I still keeping my no pseudos, no legends rule from my last file? At this moment, I still intend to, but if I were to give up on no items in battle or no legends or pseudos, I would probably drop the species restriction to make no items in battle easier. We'll revisit this if necessary. That's it. I've done everything there is to do. I've delayed this for as long as I could. But I can't run forever. Why can't they hear me? It's time to return to the Grand Hall to speak to Ame. She'll say she's glad to see you, but says if we have anything we need to do, now would be the time. No, I've done it all, and now this will happen next. Before she tells us what this is about, she tells the worker behind the counter to tell Bennett that he has been accepted. What? How? He couldn't have improved that much. But before you start to suspect Ame, she then says something that conflicts with our information. She says she's hung up on Laura's resignation, which came in the form of a handwritten letter with her undeniable signature. Someone here is lying, or something very bad is happening. That much can't be overstated. Ame then turns back to us and says that the task she has isn't just for me. It may take all of us. She says that besides her and I, she wants me to go find Adrian, Victoria, and DJ Arclight. She doesn't know exactly where they are, but trusts that we'll have good ideas of where to find them. Starting with the simplest one, the person we already saw this episode, we head back to the nightclub to find Arclight outside. When we speak to him, he says that what this is about is, of course, Team Meteor again. Arclight says a tip came in about them. He says he'll be at the meeting place and heads off. Second, we head back to Coral Ward to one of the only buildings we didn't enter yet, the gym. But out front is the person we need to see, Adrian. The architect behind this entire city's revival gives instructions and assistance to everyone gathered here. Despite this tidal wave of need from the citizens, Adrian appears in the best spirits we've seen them in. They greet us and asks us to look around at the miracle that has occurred in this region. They are proud of the city around them now, instead of horrified. They know, though, that there's more to be done. We tell them that Ame is waiting for them, and Adrian says they'll be there soon. By the way, the Corin Rouge hints point to this gym as the probable location for Corin Rouge himself. However, a construction worker stands in front of the stairs blocking the last part of the gym, and Corin Rouge is not anywhere else in the gym. We've already waited this long, guess we're waiting a bit longer. We're missing one more person, Victoria. We head to the first likely place she'd be, Apophil Academy, but she's not in the back room, nor does Letty say anything helpful. In that case, there's one more very likely spot to look. Once more, the cemetery. Indeed, she's here, saying hello to Kiki, but is surprised to see us. Not surprised that we're okay after all the troubles in the Carnelia region. She says she came to ask Kiki if she found peace, believing the city has, wishing she herself had too. We let her know that Ame needs her, and she says she'll be on her way soon, and that it's good to see me again. It's good to see you too, Victoria. I wish I could spare you of this. With that, return to the Grand Hall, where Adrian and Ame already wait. When we speak to Ame, she says that Arclight won't be meeting us here, as Victoria then arrives. She then lays the situation on us. An anonymous tip has come in that Team Meteor still has a base in Reborn City. At that, Victoria and Adrian immediately accuse Devon. Ame confirms this. Adrian and Victoria say how Devon is the only company that has continued to restrict access to their building and act suspiciously, while the other companies have assisted the city in restoration and donated funds. That's when Ame tells us that she called the president of Devon in the Hoenn region to ask about their branch in Reborn. Mr. Stone replied, "There's no such thing." With this, infiltration of this base is a go. But Ame warns of one more thing. The leader of Meteor is there too. But when Victoria mentions Solaris, her anger rising, Ame corrects her. Who she meant was Lynn. Ame learned from Saphira that Lynn cannot be trifled with. Because of this, all of us, including Ame, are going. When Adrian points out how Ame originally was intending to stay out of these matters, she says this was true, but in this moment, if there is a chance to end it all now, she has to try. Why her? Because she is the champion. The revelation comes at last. Ame, the manager of the Reborn League and the impetus for its reinstitution in this cursed region, is also its highest trainer. She pushes it aside though, saying we must focus on Devon. The plan is twofold. One team will attack the storefront head on. The other team will come from the rail net below. They will meet afterwards and ascend to the upper floors. The ones going in front are Ame and Adrian, while Victoria and I will meet up with DJ Arclight to take the low road. The three of them agree, prepared to fight and confident in the plan, and exit to put it into motion. No one asked me. If you had. A side note I want to make before continuing. DJ Arclight being involved in this plot point is why you should get the Mega Ring quest done before continuing with the story. If you didn't, you lose your chance for a couple more episodes. Don't let that happen. Also, this is where I must warn you. Prepare your team well. Whatever team you use, you must pull through the entire ordeal with it. Heading to Obsidia, you can find Adrian and Ame posted outside Devon, waiting for the call. Ame says we should head down to the rail net to find Arclight. Travel into the rail net and quickly hang 2 rights in the big room to enter this door. Now I know how you feel. Step forward to find Victoria and the DJ waiting. When we speak to Arclight, He says he'll give the signal when I say so. Fine, if you must. Go up the stairs and immediately be confronted by 3 meteor grunts, now another stage called New World Orderlies. They seem almost excited to see you and prepare to fight you, as Arclight and Victoria rush in to assist. A doubles fight begins against 2 of the Orderlies. Victoria's team is very powerful now, and against this duo, despite having 10 Pokemon, we have no trouble defeating them. With them dispatched, Victoria uses her Incineroar to bust through the gate, and our 2 partners run onward. The Grunts, meanwhile, have varying opinions on this whole situation, with one saying they are stuck in this outfit since Sigmund kept with Meteor, and they'd be out of a job otherwise. Oh yeah, that white item ball there? Just forget about it. It'll come later. Head up the stairs and find Arclight and Victoria, but not Ame and Adrian. Arc says he doesn't see our other 2 allies and heads up the stairs to see if they already went up. I go out to the front and see that the meteors out here made a mess of this place. On the floor is the radio that Ame was carrying. Go back to Victoria, but she's gone upstairs too. Heading there, she and Arclight defeated more grunts, Victoria gloating over one of them. We then show them the radio, as Arclight worries why they dropped this, but says it can't possibly be that they were overpowered. Arclight decides we have to press on, believing we'll find them further on, and says he understands the room in front of us. He then moves forward on one of the dark red tiles and is suddenly shocked. He's not gravely hurt, but he says we shouldn't step on those tiles. He then explains what he's seeing. The terminal in this room controls the floor panels, not just on this floor, but on multiple floors. There are only 3 patterns. However, this terminal can only be manned from here. So Arclight says he'll stay here while we relay to him on the radio to change the pattern using the A button. Thus we have the instructions for another dungeon sporting a unique puzzle. We just need to get across the room without stepping on electrified tiles. Those are the darker ones in each color palette. We can only be shocked if we move onto a dark tile, not if the pattern changes underneath our feet to a dark one. That means, as long as you walk onto a lighter tile, you'll be okay. What happens if you do walk on a shocking tile? Your team will lose HP depending on their weakness to electric, as long as they are grounded. So interestingly, though flying is weak to it, flying types won't lose HP, and of course neither will ground types. Get Arclight to start rotating the patterns, and you'll find that the solution is usually to walk as many tiles as you can on the parts of the floor that become safe. Of course, you should cycle the patterns many times to look ahead for where your next moves will be. Don't move until you have a safe tile to go to. Getting through the easy first iteration leads you up another staircase into the teeth of more guards. Victoria rapidly joins you for another double battle. Their 10 Pokemon yet again aren't that dangerous compared to our 12, but their apparent sinister confidence should start to be unnerving. You'll be free to continue with the next stage of the puzzle. The room is bigger now, and the patterns of safe tiles are not perfectly linear across the room, but simply take your time and you'll pass through unscathed. At the top of the room, another duo of orderlies will fight you, one of them digging into Victoria, whose anger continues to manifest. Dispatching another 10 Pokemon, the right grunt needles Victoria once too often, and pays for it. She ascends, and so will we. And this is the point of no return. When you go through that door, escape will become impossible. Ascending the stairs, Victoria mentions how she knows she's disappointing Kiki acting like this, but she won't let Meteor get away with anything more. When she steps on a tile nearby though, the door behind us seals, and the walls start closing in on us. Before we can make for the stairs, Victoria takes out her Incineroar to halt the walls, and tells us to continue without her. She says she'll be fine, and Arc says the same when we tell him on the radio. Nothing is fine about this. You know what I just said about escape being impossible now? It's true. You cannot go back the way you came anymore. If you were to find that you cannot beat this dungeon with your teammates, then your game effectively softlocks. That's why there's suddenly a new save file in your save folder named Devoncorp. Ame knew that there was this possibility and put in a failsafe that, In the event you cannot advance no matter how hard you try, you can change that save file's name to Game and revert to the last point in time where you could retreat. But it has the additional effect of instilling terror. What could be so horrible as to necessitate such a contingency? Another room waits for you to solve, and a couple more guards are here too. Your team won't be healed after these fights, so be very careful not to get pulverized on the first battle. That battle has a grunt ask you first if we thought we'd find something useful here. His team of 5 goes down easily, but he tells you that both of their projects had already been relocated. Solving the rest of the room and healing with some items, battle against the other guard, whose dialogue proves that this plan was completely doomed. 5 more Pokemon, and much more despair. That despair amplifies when you walk up one more staircase to hear Arclight yelling over the radio in distress. Amid the static and interference, one word, help, comes through, before silence. As for us, taking a few more scripted steps forward, we see several items to the right, bait for new players. But one last tile stands between them and me. I tried to warn all of you. We awaken in a cramped room. There's a PC and healing station. This is your last chance to set up your team. When you steel your nerves enough and have turned on your reset counter, step through the door and walk into a cage. The bars slam shut behind you, and across from you, Victoria walks into another cage the same way. She's startled when the door shuts behind her as she questions what's happening. It's simple, Victoria. We're in hell. The monitor on the wall flares to life, and we see that diabolical woman, Lynn. She derides us from the outset, shredding the plan we thought we had to stop her. Her cold words belie an inhumanity. Numbers, friends, or spirit do not help. She labels us powerless, then does her best Jigsaw impression, telling us we will play a game. In order to proceed, we must fight our friends. Only the winner will proceed, while a penalty is assessed on the loser. Then her visage vanishes from the screen. Victoria repeats the Wicked Game's premise, but is not at all perturbed by it. She challenges us to see which of us should be the one to finish off Meteor. Our hand is forced, as we must fight against Victoria. It's only right that Kiki's successor gets to have this track play for her, but there is anything but inner peace right now, for either of us. Victoria's first Pokemon out gives me a lot of dread too, Mienshao. Here we go with Samson's fight all over again. Even trying to fake it out shows how outclassed Meowstic is, as Mienshao uses its own fake out first. Of course, that means I'm slower, and a fucking knockoff knocks down Meowstic. What do I put up against that? The only reasonable choice here is Heracross, as she can resist fighting in dark while throwing back a powerful attack that isn't resisted. However, I'm just expecting it to have acrobatics and destroy me. Thankfully, it doesn't. Mienshao goes for high jump kick and strikes Heracross, but she survives to close combat for a KO. Whew, okay, not nearly as bad as Samson. Victoria is sending out Raichu next, which we knew was a Alolan from the earlier partner fights. To that, I send Houndoom, but when it pops a seed for a guaranteed crit, I know that Houndoom is Houndoomed. Indeed, a discharge wastes him, as I send out Camerupt, but Victoria beats my play by sending out that damn Togekiss. Just a cavalcade of Pokemon that have made life miserable throughout the game so far. Earthquake misses, of course, and Rock Slide doesn't kill it while it nasty plots. It's following Air Slash crits, of course, and Camerupt is done. At that little HP, I just have to hope that Victoria doesn't potion before Greninja uses Water Shuriken on it. Fortunately, she doesn't heal, and the Togekiss drops, only for Raichu to return to the field. I have the idea to let Greninja stay to use Night Slash on it, but the Surge Surfer outspeeds me. Greninja is regrettably still Water type and dies to another discharge. I'm thoroughly ripped up, losing Heracross of course, and though Vanillix can survive a hit, his Blizzard does not beat the Raichu. Ugh, that felt like a lot of pain points. The first thing to think about is how to deal with Mienshao. I know the Heracross can do it, but if she also takes a fake out at the beginning, it may be too much. I decide to see if that's the case, starting the second attempt with Heracross leading. Eating the fake out and starting her burn, she goes for close combat as Mienshao high jump kicks again. With a wonderful stroke of luck, it misses. Mienshao loses half its health to itself and the rest to Heracross. Okay, that's a better start, and I have one of those sneaky switching plays ready for Raichu. I go over to Houndoom again like last time, baiting out its electric move with guaranteed crit, switching into Camera Up to render it useless. Then, I know what Victoria did last time, and I switch immediately to Vanillix as she once again switches to Togekiss. All I need is to land Blizzard, and Togekiss makes it easy by using Nasty Plot on what became its only turn to attack. We're in a much better spot this time, and Lucario coming out next doesn't worry me too much. I send out Houndoom, but unlike Samson's Lucario, Victoria's is faster than him and decks him with one Aura Sphere. Damn, then it has to be Camerupt or else this is all going to hell in a handbasket. Megarupt, though, doesn't disappoint, as I survive another Aura Sphere to Lava Plume Lucario out of my way. Next, though, is Gallade, and that's really an issue. Camerupt would have been fine with it at full HP, but not now. As for the rest of my team, they're all weak to its moves. I end up picking Meowstic to try hitting it with Shadow Ball, the only move I have that Gallade is weak to. Once again, Victoria chooses not to use Throat Chop like I know it has, and instead uses Sword Stance. The Shadow Ball fires, but it doesn't kill. Worse, it pops a berry to increase its speed at low HP, so now it's a freight train. The only silver lining is that the hail can kill it soon, and after Meowstic inevitably fell to the Gallade, Greninja's Water Shuriken can clean it up. Thank God Victoria did not heal it. She's ready to send Raichu out again, but Camerupt is not in a state where he'll be able to capitalize. Instead, I need to do the bulk of the damage with something at full HP, Vanillix. I know he can survive an attack, and Raichu doesn't have any buffs now. For the third time, Victoria chooses to buff first with Nasty Plot, and then somehow, Vanillix wipes out the Raichu in one Blizzard. What a damage range! This brings it to Victoria's ace, Incineroar. Time for another clash of starters. Greninja goes out and outspeeds to use a powered-up Surf and defeat Incineroar. Good thing that Mienshao didn't crush me like Samson's did, because after that I had pretty good answers to the rest of Victoria's team. Those answers, turns out, were near identical to my last file's team. I swear, I'm such a creature of habit to have a team this close. The only difference is being my water starter was Blastoise, and Houndoom was Dusclops, meaning I was in full Trick Room mode. Victoria is in disbelief about her defeat. She said she would never lose to Meteor again, but against me, That's when my cage bursts open, and Victoria's cage begins to electrocute her. We cannot help her as she grunts through the horrible torture to go. We have no choice but to keep plodding forward through this nightmare. When we enter the next room, the radio suddenly emits static. We realize that we can still change the floor panel patterns as before, but who is controlling it? Now the puzzles are going to get a lot harder. Conveyor belts are added into the mix now, meaning we can be carted onto an electrical tile if we aren't careful. A nearby PC will reverse the direction of the green conveyor belt, allowing you to go up as long as the floor tile is safe. Another console will reverse the next belt, which, if we are bumping into a wall, we can move off of it. Turn the first belt down too, then use the radio to shift the tiles correctly to go up the purple belt. Watch out, because the first two tiles are safe on one pattern, but the third one is not. Another console switches the direction of this belt, as we saw a light shard to the right. In this tangled mess of moving floors, the solution to move on to the next part of the puzzle can be reached by going up to this tile second from the left, then going up, swapping the patterns on the fly to avoid taking damage. From this tile, change the patterns as needed and step down, which lets us get to static floor. Strange term to use here. Hit the console here, which lets us advance to the left side of the room. To get the light shard, go back to the same tile we used to get to the console, then step to the right while the pattern makes the tile to the left of the shard safe. We'll maneuver right to it and heal. Save so that you don't take unnecessary damage after this point. Get back to the unmoving floor again the same way, then use the radio to use the green conveyor belt back to the left. On the left side of the room, you can go up into the next part of the puzzle, where a familiar contraption further complicates matters. The spinners from Tanzan Mountain add another layer of automation to our movements, meaning more forethought will be required. Remember that every time you use a spinner, its direction changes. In this dungeon, we are likely to get dumped off the rotator and go back to the same side to move to the next step. For the leftmost one, make it turn green from any direction, as long as you don't take damage, then walk onto it from the top while it's green. This puts you next to the second one, but you won't get to the third one in this first trip. Instead, you need to set up your tile path so that when you move, you'll land on inert tiles. Use the second rotary device once to get it prepared for next time. This forces you to redo the first part again too. When you get to the second rotator again, it will let you reach the top of the room. From here, you can take the third one once, re-entering the second one and looping back to the top again, skipping an entire cycle of this Tower of Hanoi to reach the console. When you activate it, all the electrical tiles will become safe in this room. There's nothing left to do here. Another staircase beckons. Do what you're supposed to do. The next room portends more suffering. All you get here is a vending machine. The only choice is common candy, in case your Pokemon leveled up too much already. I suppose I misspoke earlier. You could potentially turn back from here to change your Pokemon out again at the PC before Victoria, but I didn't test this, so I won't say I know anything for certain, except that I continue through this horror show with the same team throughout. No matter what you do, you have to go through the next door, which lands you in a room identical to the earlier one with Victoria. In through the door across from you walks Arclight. He quickly tells us that he found Adrian in this madness. Adrian and Arclight were just trapped in this same sort of room and told to battle each other. Adrian refused. They forfeited to Arclight to let him continue, but their penalty, according to Arclight, made the floor in their cage begin to heat up. Then, the monitor broadcasts the unfeeling Lynn again, who reminds us we have no control, that we are pigs to be herded, no matter how hard we struggle. She disappears again, as Arclight warns that even the bars are electrified, so there's no getting around this. He asks if we want to fight or not. It doesn't matter if you say yes or no, but say yes, because Arclight will like that. Gotta get relationship points even in the belly of the beast. The second round of this twisted tournament begins against DJ Arclight. He opens the fight with Luxray, which is part good and bad for Meowstic. She's probably faster than it, but she's going to use Light Screen, which is not suitable against a Luxray in all likelihood. Regardless, Fake Out is followed by Light Screen, and sure enough, Luxray attacks with Wild Charge. However, in extremely fortunate fashion, Meowstic survives, and now, that Intimidate that gave her a sharp increase in special attack will give her the opening to blast down the Luxray with Psychic. Very important start. It's good that I could take the tempo relatively unimpeded. Next out is going to be Raichu, one I had firmly believed would be Alolan again. In that case, I go into Houndoom, but I'm incorrect in this assumption. Arclight has just a regular old Raichu. With Light Screen, I'm pretty confident, but when it uses Nasty Plot and I don't kill with Flamethrower, I'm decidedly less confident. But Houndoom, despite his proclivity to faint per my own design, stands up to the 2-stage Thunderbolt, boosted further by the field, and takes out Raichu. But now comes more speed, Jolteon. Shit, that's bad. You may wonder if I'm going to put in camera up for this electric type, but no. I know what he needs to wait for. Instead, I decide the best Pokemon to deal damage fast while not being hopefully weak to Jolteon is Vanillix. Jolteon begins with Discharge, which doesn't do half to me, but Blizzard doesn't kill and activates another Pinch Berry, this time for special attack. Fuck, now its power will tip past the halfway mark, but then I'm immensely bailed out. Jolteon's Discharge changed the field to Short Circuit, upon which its next Discharge is actually nerfed. Because of this, Vanilluxe survives and finishes off the evolution. Holy shit, I am getting unbelievable mileage off this light screen. And then my confidence is crushed. Noivern. No! Vanilluxe was my chance to beat that thing, but he can't survive a Noivern now. My team is so badly positioned for it, and we all learn how nothing outspeeds this thing. Not on this team with no Trick Room or Tailwind. It's now that I'm thankful that Meowstic has the ability to learn Trick Room, as I'm actually thinking about which move I'll need to delete for it for the next attempt. Of course, we have to at least try, but for God's sake, what do? I decide that the less I have to do with any opportunity I get, the better. So I bring out Meowstic to fake out and let Hail chip away. Unfortunately, I lose an extra turn of free Hail when Meowstic faints to it herself. The next Pokemon out is Houndoom, and pretty much the exact same scene that happened with Ciel happens here. Houndoom is outsped and hit with Boom Burst. Great, thanks. At least it isn't 210 power, but I shouldn't have tried Houndoom here. My light screen was on its last turn and was wasted on a low HP Pokemon. Greninja won't outspeed and has bad moves anyway. I still have to save Camerupt, so that means my only choice is using Rock Blast with Heracross. But what do I want? For it to use some move that has the chance to miss like Hurricane? Holy shit, my one chance. Rock Blast hits, but only twice. Seems to be a maddeningly recurring theme, but still, that's close enough. With some more Hail, that Greninja can come in now and use Water Shuriken to overcome the Wyvern. But even so, the beating I took from that single Pokemon has left me in shambles, even though I'm still ahead. Arclight's next going to send out Exploud. Damn it, after Heracross just fainted too. Greninja is definitely faster, and hitting it with a Surf does good damage, but its Citrus Berry is infuriating, and its responding Boom Burst that kills Greninja is debilitating. If I want my plan to come to fruition, then Vanilluxe must be faster than Exploud and kill with Blizzard. And it does! This is it. It's time to find out if Mega Camerupt can win in this joust. Arclight's final Pokemon is Ampharos, and you might realize now what we're about to see. Camerupt meets the DJ's Ace, and we witness two Mega Evolutions. Glorious Ampharos versus Volcanic Camerupt. The Ampharos can't use electric moves. Its move choice: Dragon Pulse. It's not enough! Camerupt's Earthquake! Yes! Oh! Ridiculous fight. I can't believe I won after Noivern stomped all over my team like it did. I was so certain Trick Room would have to be the play here, with Camerupt going in against everything instead. But we did it now, first try. And boy, if only this were a victory worth celebrating. Fuck. Victoria, Adrian, Arclight, we must go on, for all their sakes. Another electrical puzzle, harder than the last, awaits us in this room. Start by going straight up to the spinning machine, set the tiles safely, and hit this console. When you take the conveyor to the right, you'll only have another spinner to use to go anywhere. Go down to the left, and then repeat this process to get back to the top of the spinner. We'll have to do this movement several times through this puzzle, so I'll call it step 1. But it's right about now that you may see something up above. From this tile, step right, then step left, and left again. This brings you to stand next to another pulse readout. There's one of those abominations in this place too? Forget about that for now. Go to the left and let the conveyor belt bring you back to the first rotator. Repeat step 1 again to get back to this tile, then go down to be near this rotation machine. This one you can change to green without having to loop through the entire puzzle again. We'll call this step 2. This lets us enter a long passage on the right, stepping cautiously. When we get to this point, we'll want to go towards that spinner on the left. There's a console tucked away to its north, but it means we'll have to repeat the room once again. Head left into the spinner, then go back to the left and get deposited in front of step 1 again. Execute steps 1 and 2 to come back to the newest rotary device and activate the console to reverse the conveyor above us. From here, we'll have to do steps 1 and 2 again, which lets us get to the top of the room. Over to the left, another PC lets you switch this belt to moving north. Sluice through the puzzle to that conveyor belt now to access the top left of the room, where this computer will power down the electrical traps again. One more terminal switches the direction of this conveyor, and we reach another staircase. I'm sorry. Why did she let me live? Just to feel this despair? You will pay for this, Lynn. Numbly, you must still go on, through one more iteration of the same puzzle. Start by going up this pathway to the top of this web of belts, then back down to swirl towards the console. Click it to shift the green conveyor right. Head to the right, and find every other spinning device that Meteor has in this room. Start by using this bottom rotator to get to the light shard, then see your objective. On the right side of this room are many more PCs that will reverse the direction of another green conveyor. Start with the bottom one, then step on the conveyor to activate the second one. Once you set that one, you'll want to have the lowest belt go left again, so that you start feeding into these rotary devices one after another. Each time you go through the spinners, you'll change all of their directions to the opposite way, so that when you start again, you'll go one layer further. Be mindful near the top though, as an electric tile will sneak in some damage if you're not ready. From that tile, go to the left to reverse one more rotator, then go all the way back up through the Rube Goldberg machine once more. This gives you access to this computer, which turns the horizontal belt just below you to the right. Take it and get off at the right wall to hit the PC on the other side of the vertical belt, making said belt begin moving up instead. With this, the puzzles of the Devon building have been solved, as you power down the last electrical tiles. But the horror isn't finished. One more foreboding staircase waits, at the top of which you find Zell. When you step closer, you'll see the creature that caused Zero, Eve, and Lumi to join into one body. The Pulse Magnazone. It still yet lives, and its Pulse Dex reveals its staggering special attack power. Worse, its greatest weakness, Ground, is nullified by Levitate. It's pretty slow and not nearly as tanky as the other Pulses, but it won't be a simple 6-on-1 at all. You walk in on the 3-person body yelling at each of their parts. Zero is accusing Eve of something, but she says that it wasn't her doing. A corruption has been injected into the system. Zero berates her for failing to secure it, while Lumi angrily defends her sister. Zero doesn't want to hear her, as he barks at Eve to fix the data. This is when Eve mentions 2 sets of data that should send chills up your spine. Pulse 2 and Arc Pulse. What the hell are those? She says that those sets were not altered, but the nearby Magnazone was, and she'd have to rewrite it. Zero yells that she doesn't have the time to do that, as Lynn ordered all pulses moved out. Eve says that this isn't possible with Magnazone in this state. Zero believes Lynn planned this on purpose, and thinks that I am coming to destroy it. At that, Zell finally realizes I'm here. Lumi asks if I really did come to destroy everything. I didn't. Zero doesn't believe that, as he accuses us of hacking their data too. But this is when Eve says something else unsettling. Lynn ordered them not to harm me. What the hell for? What is this angle? But regardless of all this, we are unable to avoid this conflict. Dread seeps in as you now enter into the third straight major battle in this nightmarish building, as uncertainty takes hold. Zell begins the fight with Auroras, to which Meowstic fakes out and light screens. The two begin trading several attacks, but Meowstic is worn down first. With little HP left, Vanillix can come in and use Mirror Shot for quad damage against the slow ice dinosaur. The next Pokemon out is Zero's evolution, Umbreon. That's Heracross's cue, but very disappointingly, she doesn't get the knockout with a close combat, the bulky dark type. What's good is that the response is foul play, which even with lower defense is not enough to kill Heracross. The next turn sees Brick Break swipe aside the Umbreon, but Zell moves to counter me with Alakazam. A lot of duplication in this episode. I can't use Houndoom. It's important to keep him for the Magnezone since Camerupt's Earthquake won't work on it. In that case, I use said Megarupt now. Alakazam's move choice of Psyshock does only a quarter to my Camel, and Earthquake decimates it. We're going okay, but now comes Lumi's evolution, Glaceon. Seeing as how we're still well suited against it, I keep Camerupt, but now I find out that the change in field effect lets Glaceon both get Levitate, not a big deal, but also a special defense stage, much bigger deal. As such, one Lava Plume is not enough to kill the yawning Glaceon, and when my light screen falls, Camerupt doesn't even have time to fall asleep before dying to Blizzard. I think that the simple solution is now to dust away the Glaceon with Water Shuriken. Yeah, no, Ultra Potion. Fuck, stuck in no man's land again. Greninja outspeeds to use a boosted Surf, but has to take a huge Shadow Ball before making Glaceon faint. This leads into the last evolution, Eve's Espeon, who I send Vanillux out to, but yet again it pops a Synth Seed to get special defense. But that's only the appetizer. I quickly find out I should have used Taunt because it puts up Light Screen. No. Blizzard does a very meager amount of damage, and then Espeon continues the next turn with Reflect. When it finally does attack with Psyshock, it does much more than I wanted to see, meaning Vanillux won't get the kill first. But then something else I don't want to see happens again. Another Ultra Potion! Come on with that! Now the Espeon has 2/3 of its life as Vanillux is defeated, but its Light Screen and Levitation end. I decide that Houndoom has the chance to get in there and kill it before it does anything else. Yeah, about that. Espeon is still faster and use Light Screen again. Really? Dark Pulse doesn't kill, and I can't let Houndoom stay here. I sack my low health Heracross to let Greninja come in, hope to God that Zell doesn't have another potion, turns out they don't, and just barely plink it down with Water Shuriken. We have gotten to the end of the fight by the skin of our teeth, and now we have to beat the Pulse Magnezone, which is essentially a boss that would be hard to defeat on its own, let alone after fighting an entire team first. I still have Houndoom, which was the plan, but now that plan has changed. It's vital that Greninja is alive right here, because there's only one way we win this fight. Magnezone still has the light screen up, so Flamethrower is just not going to cut it. Instead, we outspeed the Magnezone and go for the Hail Mary Destiny Bond. Whatever Magnezone does has to kill Houndoom. The move it chooses is Discharge, but once again, the field effect actually cuts the power it's going to have. This time, that reduction could ruin me. Is it destiny? Yes! Wow! An even closer call than Arclight. And another victory on my first attempt. Apparently my team last time was very healthy after this fight, but then again, knowing all the tricks gives you a ton of advantage, while going in with pretty much all unknowns will leave you like I am today. What a fight! But there I go again, celebrating a victory in this horrible place. The resulting explosion destroys this room, and the pulse is completely scrapped. Zell lay on the floor nearby, unconscious. When you rouse them, Zero's voice speaks first. And only. Zero realizes that he didn't lose his hearing. He's alone. Eve and Lumi are gone. Then he says one last thing. He needs to go to Agate. Hell is coming. Devoncorp is over. Press this console to go to the left. In this final room, press this PC to open a door, and 3 chutes open next to you. Victoria, Arclight, and Adrian all fall to the ground, alive. But when Adrian rolls Arclight over, they discover that, while Adrian was burned and Victoria was electrocuted, Arclight was penalized far worse. His eye was taken. Adrian says they managed their own penalty thanks to their Pokemon, but then asks me the question I've been dreading to answer. Where is Ame? Victoria rages against this being toyed with. Why did Meteor let us live but not Kiki? She rages at all of Meteor for what they've done, but she's most angry at herself, that she still couldn't be strong enough. Adrian, however, tells her that we cannot blame ourselves for this. They say they could blame the city's grotesque degeneration on themselves for getting stuck in time, but that's not the right way to think about it. Instead, we must move forward, and use our power now to fix the world now. Victoria has no enthusiasm like this, but knows this is true. Someone will have to lead this city. It might as well be all of us. With that, Adrian picks up Arclight and we exit through the door to the left. One thing to keep in mind though, this PC can be used again, but only if we find an ID. Another thing to remember for later. We exit, and another devilish scenario is conquered. We emerge on the streets of Obsidia, but nowhere near the Devon building. We learn that after Adrian and Ame stormed the store, they were locked in and a gas trap knocked them out. Victoria was also knocked out, and all of us were transported to this building. In the end, though we were too weak to stop Meteor here, we have new leads. Adrian and Victoria will look into the building records and search the buildings, while getting medical attention to Arclight. Adrian then also asks if we will go to their gym later. Yeah, I'd better get a badge at the end of this Titanic episode. Our friends all leave, and we are free again. The hopeful remaster of Obsidia Ward's theme clashes viciously against the despair we feel now. This city, so greatly improved, yet the darkness, still so thick and evil, waiting to strike again. What is it I should feel now? I know what will make me feel better. More exploring! Why don't we go right back into the Devon building? Yeah, really. There were items up at the top we didn't get. Time to go clean it out. On the way up this time, though, we'll find that the floor patterns are no longer controllable. They now shift automatically at a pretty fast rate. You'll need to do the same puzzle again, but timing every movement onto safe tiles. Remember, you don't take damage just standing still. A word of warning, try not to take too much damage going up the building, even if you have Pokemon that are immune to it. Why? Because this fucking asshole parked himself at the very top of the building, and will fight you when you try to go down the hall to the items. If you don't have a pretty healthy team to kill this Archeops, Rhyperior, and Araquanid, then you'll do what I did in my last playthrough, which was lose to him, and be forced to eat the loss of money again because I forgot to save for like 30 minutes. Not this time, you fuck. Now we can finally get at the items left here. The TM for X Scissor, an electric memory, and a Devon scope.
It's only a model.
Though it is only a model, when we return to Sylph, the researcher quickly, very, very quickly, reverse engineers the model and merges it with a Sylph scope to create the Sylvan scope. She lets us have it, which is perfect for the next place to go. We have a ward and jungle to de-Kecleon. Returning to Barrow Ward, we find one of those unseeable bastards and see it. At this, it fights us, but it's just a Kecleon. We enter the library and deal with the Kecleon that were blocking the other rooms, like this one on the left, holding these very vibrantly colored books. Books that, for some reason, seem to match the colors of some statues of a god Pokemon. If you touch them in the order that the Arceus statues were arranged in the Sub-7 Sanctum, that is, green, red, purple, yellow, blue, white, then the bookshelf will slide over. Inside this room lays a document that describes the conditions and theory around the creation of the world, and the self-creation of the being who made this world, Arceus. The mind-bending document explains that everything involved with how this came to be were rather formed after they happened. In that way, as this world is forming, so too will Arceus be formed again, and through this world, Arceus will become complete. I won't lie, this read confuses me terribly. What doesn't confuse me is the TM for Shadow Ball, one of the best TMs in the game. But that's not all. The other item is a catching charm, an item colored amethyst that says that the chance for critical captures will be increased and that it stacks. The game keeps giving us more and more power. Leaving the library, there's one more thing to do with the Sylvan scope, where another starter was waiting for us. Return to the Underroot in Rotocrene and ascend the very tall waterfall again. When we get to the top, we'll bump into that unseeable Pokemon. So let's unveil and beat the little... Oh. Get yourself ready, because we have a herd of Kecleon to defeat. Not 6 of them, no. This is a battle that goes to the absolute limit. With your 6 Pokemon, you must defeat 12 Kecleon at once. But hey, at least it's just Kecleon. I mean, the game couldn't expect you to fight 12 Pokemon if they were any more constructed than that. These Kecleon, though, are irritating. Once more, I'm going to mostly speed through this, because there's not a lot of strategy. The big problem is that these fuckers like to use Fake Out and bullshitty Sucker Punch, so they can constantly get hits on you and it adds up. Meowstic goes down early due to Greninja's Surf hitting her for a lot more damage. Vanillux comes out and we take down the first 2 with Blizzard and Water Shuriken. Greninja goes down as we only defeat 1 more Kecleon. A couple aggravating turns pass with missing attacks and Fake Outs. However, Cave Rock Slide from a Mega Camerupt does a ton of damage. 5 down with Vanillux still barely alive. The Clutch Master survives yet 1 more Sucker Punch to Blizzard the next 2, who die to Rock Slide, while Vanillux finally faints. 7 down. 2 Fake Outs hit Camerupt, but he barely hangs on while Houndoom blasts one. He follows up with a kill, but Camerupt finally runs out of energy too. Heracross comes out and Houndoom scorches 1 Kecleon away with a huge range while a Brick Break from Heracross beats the other, avoiding defense drops. 10 down. Heracross kills 1 more as Houndoom flinches, and we beat the last one next turn. Whew, not the worst. Still have 2 Pokemon left and... We're not through yet. After defeating 12 Pokemon in a row, we get 1 more. A purple Kecleon at level 81. Houndoom has barely any HP left. Can he outspeed? No. And this thing has Drain Punch. Holy shit. I have only 1 Pokemon left alive, but it's the best possible one. Heracross. This bully will probably outspeed her, but if she survives, she's already burned, so the close combat has the best chance to one-shot it. Wow! What a joust! Heracross was threatened with a flinch at the most critical moments, but she pulled through and wrecked that purple Kecleon in one hit. Thank God we won that in a single try. I remember this shit just clowning me for a long time. The purple Kecleon's reign of terror is over, and the Kecleon infestation in Barrel will subside now. As well, we can access the cage to the left and invite Trico to join us. With this, the side quests that are possible to do in the city this episode are finished. But there's one other place we need to go before we see Adrian and Coral Ward. We need to return to Calcenon City. Walk around to find Kane here when we learn something distressing. Anna and Noel are missing. First Laura, now the twins. What's going on in this city? Heading to the east side of the city out to Route 4, you'll find Hardy, who is looking for the kids too. He tells us the same thing Kane did, adding that witnesses saw the siblings leave out the east exit of Calcenon only to vanish. I have a horrible feeling. There's something else too. If you walk over to these jumping rocks by the waterfall, then at this time, only after Devoncorp, will you find... An Absol descends the waterfall and challenges you. Strange. Absol is a Pokemon we've been able to catch for some time. Why is it presented in such a scripted fashion? Well, if you were to catch it, you'll discover that, though it appeared wild, it has a different original trainer, Ame. I'm sorry. I couldn't do anything to stop it. I wanted to, but this is the way it must happen. At this point, our only remaining progression lies in Coral Gym. Walk into the restored building, and you will see the call pedestal flashing. Ame? No, it's Victoria. Despite the strange feeling about doing this so soon after what happened, Victoria gives us some information about Adrian's battle. We already knew they would use doubles, but then she tells us something horrendous. The fight will take place on misty terrain, a field effect we can blow away like with Talonflame's Tailwind. But under no circumstances should you ever do that. This battle showcases a pretty rare aspect of the field effect system, the sublayer. If you were to remove misty terrain, you'll uncover this battle's specially set sublayer, and you'll regret it immensely. I will not uncover it myself. Give me one more episode before I have to deal with it. Now, don't think we're immediately entering combat with Adrian. As if there haven't been enough this episode, Adrian is going to ask one more request of you. First, they make it clear that, with Ame's death, the Reborn League's future is uncertain. But Adrian believes that while they and Victoria manage the Grand Hall, there's only one possible way forward. I must become the champion. Yeah, that's my only reason I came to this region, I think. This is the only reasonable choice. Otherwise, we'd have to entertain the idea that Lynn has become the champion now, and that isn't happening. Adrian believes I'm the only one who can take her on, and asks if we accept. You're damn right I do. They are grateful, and says they want to battle now, except they are piled on with work. Between existing obligations to the city, and the 2 buildings we just survived through, they need many volunteers to take care of everything currently. You could tell them you're not interested, but what kind of completionist would I be? What they ask us to do is to find volunteers throughout the city, at least 5. They say that 10 would be ideal, but in truth, there are 15 to find. Which people should I be looking for? In your recent travels throughout Reborn City, talking with all the people as you should, many of them will speak of having nothing to do or not knowing how to help with the restoration of the city. Those are the ones you need to find. Of course, I'm going to just tell them to you now. This woman standing in the stairway between Coral and Obsidia. This girl in the east side of Obsidia. The guy standing in this corner of Obsidia by the slums. The lost girl inside the alley in southwest Obsidia. The glasses guy by the grand stairs. This guy standing around doing nothing in the Onyx game corner. The gray-haired person standing in the park in Lapis. This person standing near the train station in Peridot. Inside this apartment in Peridot, talk to this boy. In a nearby alleyway in Peridot, talk to this girl by herself. Find this guy in the Peridot Black Steam shelter. the anxious girl here in this building in Jasper, this young child in the Barrel Library, this girl overlooking the city from Barrel Bridge, and finally, this guy also overlooking the city from nearby the Barrel Gym. Return to Adrian now, who is delighted by our recruitment drive. For your efforts, you get wise glasses, an ability capsule, and a star piece. With that, Adrian says they are ready to battle us. Stand on the dais to the south as Adrian stands to the north. Before we start our duel against the last survivor of the Devon Nightmare, let me go into depth about what Pokemon I'll be using this time. So, a Fairy Gym. Would be good to use some Steel types, so we start with Bastiodon. He'll lead to see if Adrian wants to open on him with Focus Blast or some nonsense, and will Metal Burst back for a hopefully easy kill. If not, then he's got Iron Head to put some holes into the Fairy types. Next is my other Steel type. A pretty obvious pick if you've been watching this series. Mawile. She's going to get the special defense boost from the Misty Terrain, and also has Iron Head. The only problem is that she's slow, so if she can't take a hit, then she's not going to be so useful. You may think that I should be going with Trick Room for 2 Slowpokes like that, but there's no Slowbro on this first attempt. Instead, Meowstic will be my Psychic user. What I'm fully expecting is a Gardevoir, meaning Shadow Ball will be good against it. If it's not good enough, then we have a secret weapon, involving the only generic Z Crystal I have. Plus, Light Screen and/or Reflect will always be nice. After this, the rest of my team is not that well suited to this, but it's mostly because my currently leveled battlers boast few Steel moves and literally no poison. The only other Steel move I have is on Vanillux. Of course, I'd rather not use Mirror Shot. I'm just hoping that Adrian's Pokemon's secondary types are weak to Ice or Fire. Speaking of Fire, we have Houndoom, who though he's neutral to Fairy, is likely to pull Destiny Bond duty. But I know he'll be important to use against something Adrian has. To double up on that, we have my last Pokemon, Camerupt. Yeah, I've gotta bring a Mega Evolution, and Camerupt will be great for that. He resists Fairy, and Earthquake lets him bypass the special defense increase Fairy types get in Misty Terrain. Of course, as slow as he is, we may need to assist him with Trick Room. That's the team as I see it now. Of course, it's likely I'll get ground up with this team being so slow, in which case we'll have to switch up things to use Slowbro, or maybe another back pocket monster who doesn't need any Trick Room. Let's finally cap off this mammoth episode for the 14th badge. Adrian's battle being in doubles gives me a headache, as they lead with that expected Gardevoir and Granbull. Bastiodon is much less useful if he can get comboed out. I have him start by throwing Iron Head at the Granbull, while Vanillux will Blizzard. That's when I discovered the exact thing happens that I talked about. Gardevoir nails Bastiodon with a Focus Blast. Oh, do you now? Well, next attempt we know what we're doing. That next attempt is sure coming fast too, as Vanillux's Blizzard does not a lot, and he gets one shot by close combat. Plus, his Hail then takes out Bastiodon. To be completely honest, even though the game told me multiple times, I blanked that this was going to be doubles. So the terrible choice to put Vanillux and Bastiodon together was an accident. Anyway, the fight's effectively over, but I play it out using Meowstic and Camerupt, who watch Granbull use a potion before Gardevoir Dazzling Gleams us. I am now reminded that ghost attacks are worse here on Misty Terrain, so my decision to use Meowstic for Shadow Ball is out the window after seeing how little that did to Gardevoir. Camerupt's Rock Slide misses the Granbull but takes down Gardevoir, only for it to be replaced by a Whimsicott. Oh, okay, yeah, I won't outspeed that. I'm starting to realize here too that I utterly hate using Camerupt in doubles, as his best attacks just obliterate my own side. I'm forced to use Rock Slide, though I could have used anything since Meowstic was beaten long before Camerupt went. His damage with Rock Slide, meanwhile, is not that exciting. I bring in Mawile into this doomed adventure, who sees Camerupt fall to a mist ball, and then Ironheads the Granbull in the mouth to kill it. Then, Adrian sends out their own Mawile, as I send my last Pokemon, Houndoom. By the way, here's that contingency I mentioned, where I use Houndoom for a particular member of Adrian's team. You can probably guess what's about to happen. Yep, my Mawile gets outclassed by Adrian's Mega Mawile. Just great. But then, the horrible thing happens. Whimsicott uses Tailwind. Fuck no. I'm not talking about that field today. Spoilers, this killing field doesn't feature almost at all in my attempts against Adrian, so I'm going to skip the description today. If you're worried, don't be. It's going to be plastered all over the next episode. Anyway, this is all over. The one thing you get to know about this heinous field is that Fire-type moves gain a Dragon secondary type. So yeah, Houndoom is worthless now. Then Mega Mawile Rock Slides us, hitting only Mawile, who flinches. Yeah, let's just forget about the rest of this attempt. Kicking Vanillux off the front line, let's just try again and see if Metal Burst does me any good. We wait for the Focus Blast while Meowstic fakes out Granbull so it can't also attack us and intercept our plan. Then Gardevoir throws the... For fuck's sake, it's the Ditto Arceus again! The attempt ends if this happens, because after, this Gardevoir can land the Blast and Granbull Earthquakes. Here's what it looks like when Gardevoir doesn't miss the perfect move. Good. Now we get to have the Mega Mawile come out immediately. Meowstic just got 2 competitives. Yeah, well, Sucker Punch. I decide to attempt to focus down the Mawile with both of my fire types now, letting me use Lava Plume next to a Flash Fire Pokemon. Houndoom goes first, but Flamethrower is that close! The damn special defense increase saves Mawile as she sends back a Rock Slide to mess up Camerupt and kill Houndoom. When Granbull close combats, I think Camerupt's a goner, but he's not! He just flinched. This Mawile possesses both Rock Slide and Sucker Punch. Just give it Knockoff and it is literally my most hated Pokemon. Yeah, all I have left is Vanillux, who goes first with Mirror Shot somehow. It misses. Yeah, why have hope? Next attempt, meaning 2 attempts later because Gardevoir missed Focus Blast again, Meowstic light screens to waste the Sucker Punch of Mega Mawile, but Granbull easily knocks over Bastiodon with a Rock Slide. I bring in Houndoom to once again breathe fire on the Mega Evolution, while Meowstic will throw around those 4 stages of special attack, though I'm thinking that Mawile is going to Sucker Punch her again. Mawile doesn't do it, but for not focusing it down with both attacks, Mawile Rock Slides and ends Houndoom in 1 hit. Then Granbull also uses Rock Slide. Have I mentioned I hate how many opponents have Rock Slide? Trying to use my own Rock Slide with Camerupt, Vanillux blows away Mawile with Blizzard, while the Granbull heals again. It comes back down to around the same health as before. Oh look! A Togekiss! What I always wanted! Adrian heals their Granbull again, and Togekiss goes first with an Aura Sphere aimed at Vanillux, but he survives it. But even the combined power of a Blizzard, Rock Slide, and last-second chip damage from Hail does not kill Togekiss. Also, all this missing Granbull with Rock Slides has made it possible for him to survive the next one Camerupt uses after Togekiss knocks out Vanillux. Camerupt survives the Granbull's Earthquake, but I'm totally done for. Mawile is slow and Whimsicott is fast. Whimsicott goes even faster with Tailwind, bringing back that other field. Mawile takes the opportunity to destroy the Whimsicott in 1 Iron Head, but Camerupt is broken by Earthquake. Mawile barely hangs on to catch a glimpse of Adrian's ace, Florges, which once again edges ever higher above our level cap, 84, and Mawile is subsequently defeated. Alright, fine, Trick Room, let's do it. Slowbro comes in to take over for Vanillux, who though he's good against Togekiss, is really unhelpful to a low HP Bastiodon. Trick Room can give Bastiodon one last chance to attack. Skipping right past the Gardevoir again, we're faced with Mega Mawile. However, I know that it really wants to use Sucker Punch first turn, while Granbull will probably use Rock Slide. This is a good chance to switch in Slowbro to get Trick Room started. Meowstic uses Light Screen again to burn a Sucker Punch, and she and Slowbro take minimal damage from Rock Slide. Then comes a really luck-dependent turn. Meowstic nails Granbull with a huge Psychic, while Mawile attacks with Rock Slide, which only hits Slowbro, then Granbull misses Play Rough. That all sounds great, but Slowbro flinched. I desperately need Trick Room up this turn. It's really annoying that Mawile tried Sucker Punch again now on Meowstic, easily taking her out while Granbull comes in swinging. Importantly, Slowbro survives and Trick Room is on. Time for some slow fucks to wreck Adrian, like Camerupt. I decide that Camerupt is better suited going for Earthquake since Slowbro won't survive anything else anyway. However, I should have checked their speeds because Slowbro is faster than a Mega Camel. Because of that, Camerupt interrupts Slowbro with Death, and the Camel's Earthquake is unable to kill either opponent after Adrian healed that damn bull again. My Mawile is out next, but it goes bad when the Mega Mawile heals now. My Rock Slide does not kill or flinch, and Granbull's makes my Mawile flinch. You think that was bad? How about Camerupt getting Sucker Punched out? Granbull is apparently slower than my Mawile, and she flinches again! What the fuck is this luck? Granbull doesn't have Serene Grace, it's just getting these! It's so bad, my reset counter decided it had enough too. It didn't see the worst yet, which was my Bastiodon coming back to getting Sucker Punched, then my Mawile flinched again. All I have left is Houndoom, who does not play well with Trick Room. Okay, I just thought of something. Why the hell am I using Light Screen? Almost everything I'm seeing is physical. Well, we can fix that now. I switch Meowstic to Reflect, and we start again, after restarting the reset counter. I quickly put it to use 2 more times thanks to Gardevoir's accuracy, and we're back to Megawile. Slowbro comes out, and Reflect goes up. But Reflect seemed to help not at all, as Mawile just kills Meowstic with Play Rough anyway after she's Psychicked, and Slowbro almost goes down to Granbull's Play Rough. Trick Room is started though, and that's all that matters, hopefully. I try using Bastiodon here and attempt to fuck around with Sucker Punch AI going for a low HP target, but instead, Mawile was looking at Slowbro, who gets punched out. I brought in Houndoom here, which should have been punished by the Rock Slide, but it missed. I then add Camerupt to the field to hopefully make use of the Flash Fire synchronization. Unfortunately, like I said, Houndoom is not good now on Trick Room. Granbull frustratingly heals, while Lava Plume doesn't kill either opponent, and Mawile's Rock Slide bowls down Houndoom. A really annoying turn then occurs when my Mawile goes out. Camerupt is forced to go for Rock Slide now. He gets Sucker Punched, lives, then can't kill the Mega over there with Rock Slide. He somehow still survives a close combat on top of that though, as my Mawile bonks her Mega Mirror down. It should have been a double KO for me. Whimsicott comes back, and I'm treated to something just super cool. Whimsicott has Prankster, and uses Nature Power with it, to snipe Camerupt before he can act again. Yeah, just great. Take this Iron Head and go away. At least Mawile didn't flinch this time. This forces me to bring back my 1 HP Bastiodon, which comes out to meet the level 84 Florges again. My Steel types both focused down the ace in 1 round before it acted, but Granbull does 1 damage to my Bastiodon. I thought I had brought it to 1-1, but I forgot. Togekiss. God damn it, I thought I won. Instead, Granbull's low speed lets it Earthquake for a ton of damage, and no matter if I killed the Togekiss or the Granbull, either one would get to attack after Mawile and finish her. Even though that got so close, it doesn't feel close. It feels horribly up to luck. The attempts have reached double digits now, as I decide to deal with Mawile differently. Instead of using Slowbro immediately, I bring out Houndoom first while Meowstic uses Reflect. Mawile throws their turn away on Sucker Punch, and Granbull's Rock Slide does not kill Houndoom, which is the key. Then I go for the stupid but maybe genius play of using Destiny Bond, while Meowstic blasts Granbull with a big Psychic again. Houndoom isn't going to survive another hit, but what will be great is if the Mawile hits him. To my great fortune, that's exactly what happens. Mawile takes herself out after rock sliding Houndoom, while Granbull is way down on HP. Now it's time to Trick Room, especially in the face of that Whimsicott. I was hoping that Meowstic would get to Psychic the Granbull once more, but Whimsicott chose to use Dazzling Gleam and got rid of her first. Slowbro survives the assault and activates Trick Room, to which I send out Mawile. I remember now though that Mawile is faster than Granbull for some reason, so I make Slowbro Psychic it first, but that fucking thing lives! But it's okay, it's Play Rough then missed. Mawile one-shots the Whimsicott easily, prompting Adrian to use their ace now. But at this point, Trick Room has completely taken over this fight, and Mawile's Iron Head mangles everything that stands against it. Ugh, I hated this fight. The constant swings from RNG along with my usual dim opinion of doubles fights made this one a chore to do. It racked up the second most resets on a gym fight too, though nearly half of those were thrown away before the second turn. So how did this go for Oildrum spelled with one M? Not great either. The screenshot name mentions Trick Room, but it looks like things weren't much better for it. It would have probably helped if I didn't bring a Heracross, but Camerupt, Mawile, and Meowstic, as today, were victors against Adrian before. Vanillux got to stick around, and of course, Dusclops was my one Trick Room pony long before I took a look at Slowbro. Adrian congratulates us, and a box with our rewards appears beside us. The first is the Amaranth Badge, which nudges our level cap 5 levels higher, to 85. The other is the TM for Dazzling Gleam, another great TM, the only one that teaches a fairy move in Reborn. Adrian says that, while they and Victoria handle the city, we must continue in our battle against Meteor. They say we should head for the newly reopened Grandview Station and take a train into the Tourmaline Desert, both to obtain another badge and one of the Crystal Keys. Of course, after braving the massive desert, we'll come to find that I'm not the only one looking for that key. As well, I won't be satisfied with only one more badge.